what happens when you get a whole bunch of pro drivers and a whole bunch of professional sim racers on one single track together. You get this. The European Digital Motorsports Cup presents the Race of Nations here at Spa. My name is Connor Ubanek, and I'll be joined by the one, the only Mr. Paul Smith for the duration of this broadcast. There we are. Oh, this is where we are here at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, one of the most famous, if not the most famous, racing circuit in the world. The crown jewel of Belgian motorsports. It's just a track that's promoted some absolutely fantastic action so many times, so many memorable moments across the years, both in the real world and, of course, here in sim racing. But Paul, drivers are out there already getting their qualifying done. There's what they'll be racing for here today. 600 euros for the first prize and 2 BenQ monitors split amongst the 2 drivers. But we'll get into the format a little bit later on, Paul, but this should be an incredibly enthralling race.
Yeah, and with these LMP2 cars as well, it's going to be fast and frenetic as well. Of course, 2 drivers sharing each car, so going to be interesting to see how the things all pan out in today's race. But plenty of action forthcoming, and 2 hours of a race. It's going to be a good one.
Yep, I think it is as well. So we can just recap what's going on here in case anything confuses you up on screen for you right now. Well, drivers are currently on their qualifying laps here. They get 3 flying laps. They're all alone out there on circuit, so no one else can influence their laps. But of course, with the luxury of being a spectator, we can see everyone out there on their laps. Of course, drivers are separated out into teams depending on the country that they represent. A handful of teams have, of course, multiple teams for the same country as well, which is why over the course of this broadcast you might see Team Ireland 1, Team Ireland 2, Team Ireland 3 and things like that. But of course, we'll keep you up to date with as regards to where each car is. And of course, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen right now, Lauren Henreich for Team Germany 1. That's going to be in the number 13 car. Currently provisional pole position, the only driver that's below the 2-minute mark here in qualifying.
Yeah, it's tricky to get under 2 minutes, especially when they've got a fixed setup like they have in this race. All the teams have got the same setups. It's all about the driver's ability here to really extract the most out of their car and out of the track as well. So yeah, again, you see Lasseback throwing this car through Pouhon for another flying lap, and he's trying to get a lap time on the board for Team Denmark here. So a number of teams haven't yet scored lap times. They're just working their way around to get themselves a lap time and hopefully be able to progress forward.
Yeah, I'm expecting big things here from Lasseback because he did set one of the fastest times in practice here. In fact, it was the fastest time in practice. So as long as he can pull a lap together here in qualifying, he should be relatively towards the top of the order here. You can see the teams on the left-hand side. Germany 1, currently a provisional pole position with Poland 6 in P2. But what can Denmark 1 do with Lasseback piloting that car coming out the final corner, drive to the line for one of his first qualifying laps, and it's a 1:59.980. That is a very quick lap time indeed. Not quite able to surpass Germany 1's time, but a good start there for Team Denmark, and they have one more flying lap in the bag to go as well. But Lasseback will bring that car to a stop.
Yeah, so looking to just get a fresh set of tyres and go again. And I mean, I'm looking at those times. Norway, big chunk of the Norwegian teams there up in the top 10. That's going to be crucial because, of course, you're scoring points for your team, for your nation in this event. So you really want to do the best job you can for your nation to try and be the overall winners in the series. But yes, here we are, Iceland, the number 16 car, working their way through Le Combe. And tricky part of the track is this, and the Team Iceland 2 car, Malmedy, and then down towards Brussels, the long sweeping right-hander. You can take different lines through there, get it over to the right hand side, brakes for Jekic's corner, run out wide but not too wide because you will invalidate your lap time if you run too far wide. Then there's double apex left-hander at the bottom of the hill. Puho. Really, you could throw your car into there with one of these high downforce cars, one of these cars that have a big amount of downforce on them. Into Campus, the right and left chicane. Stavelo next corner, slow it down, get the car onto the power as soon as you can because you've got to carry the speed through curve Paul Freya, and then we're heading towards the world famous Blanchimont corner. Not as intimidating as it used to be now that it's got all the runoff area off to the right hand side there, but you won't make one mistake through there and you will be heading towards that tyre barrier. Towards the end of the lap now, onto the brakes. Crucial not to lock up any brakes into the bus stop chicane at the end of the lap, and then short sprint to the finish line.
So Håkon Jökulsson brings that Iceland car across the line, only good enough for P34 on the starting grid as it stands. Not last place there for Team Iceland 2, but they are ahead of still a teammate in Team Iceland 5, who's currently the last of the drivers or the teams that have been able to set a lap time here. The only team that has not been able to set a lap time just yet is actually Team Denmark 5, and I'm not seeing anyone piloting that car right now, so it doesn't look like they're going to be able to make all that much progress. Andre Melchers, though, we're on board with the number 26 car. This is Team Germany number 5, as they have gotten themselves inside the top 10 for now, but they are not too far off the cars ahead of them. Just an extra tenth of a second in lap time might net them 3, if not 4 spots here. So that's how close everyone is at this point in qualifying.
Yeah, it's tremendously close, it's qualifying. So far, quite a long track is Spa, but the top 22 are all within 1 second of each other, so that just shows you how closely these drivers are all out there in this event, and that does improve up to 6th place for Team Germany 5.
Yeah, so great lap times being pulled out of the bag for a couple of the Germany cars. Of course, they are P1 and P6 at the moment. There's a whole gaggle of Norwegian cars, though, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. All Norwegian, so they're preferring to keep themselves together with good lap times up into P10, and that could that could be the winning formula here, Paul. It's not about the individual performance of one of your team cars. It's the average of it's the total points from all of your cars that matters here in this situation. So that's what the Team Norway are certainly aware of. So even if they don't win this race, they're still in a good position, at least for the start of this one, to get a handful of points, a big handful of points in the bag.
Yeah, it's all about getting those points for your nation, and all about getting the best result possible for as many of your team mates as possible as well. Because it's all well and good saying getting one of your team to win the race, but then if your next best team is, say, mid-table in 15th, 16th position, you're not getting the points that you need to win the overall championship. So there's the teams up on screen right now, so you can see the breakdown of the drivers between the different nations. 6 nations here for you.
Yeah, and of course it's a mixture of real-world drivers from these countries that you might see in some national series, for example, and of course a handful of sim racers as well. And sometimes the sim racers don't quite match up with the countries, but of course that's because we had to make all the teams even in terms of the numbers. So that's why you'll see that in some instances. But yeah, this is we have to remind everyone this is a collaboration between these national motorsport organizations in Europe, these sanctioning bodies that put on races in the real world, coming together here in sim racing, as we have done so for the past year or so. And it's always fantastic to have these sorts of events on, because it not only gives the real world drivers a chance to see what we do on sim racing, but also gives the sim racing drivers the experience with a couple of the real life racing guys as well. Yeah,
it really gives them a bit of a benchmark, really, to work against, to see how do I fare against those professional drivers? And vice versa, the professional drivers can look at this and see, right, how do I compare against these sim racers in the sim, in their environment? So yeah, that's definitely what we're seeing out there, and it'll be great collaboration between them as well, to be able to represent these nations. And yeah, thank you to those who did go and get spread amongst a couple of the other teams, just to make sure that we got a good, solid and strong lineup here today.
Seems like everyone is done in terms of their qualifying effort, despite having a couple of minutes left remaining in the session. It does mean, though, that we can go over the starting grid here for the Race of Nations in the European Digital Motorsport Cup. It's Germany 1 and Lauren Henreich behind the wheel that gets pole position here today. Poland 3 on that front row as well. Lasse Bach's Denmark 1 in P3. Norway 2, P4. Poland 6 will start in 5th place, and Germany 5 will start in 6th here today. And then you scroll a little bit further back, you've got Team Norway in P7. That's Team Norway 6, and of course Team Norway 4 in P8, Team Norway 5 in P9, and Team Norway 1 in P10. So that's the whole group of Team Norway cars that I was talking about here. And then, of course, we'll get the rest of the grid just a little bit later on, because the session is about to switch over here, Paul. So we'll just have to wait for that one. But again, I gotta say, Team Norway, I feel, have the right strategy at this point.
Yeah, exactly. You know, getting that bunch of teams there in that top 10 really does help, because not only does it score you good points, it denies other teams and other nations of getting those good points. So it really does sort of pan out as to how it works in the race here. So, but it'll be interesting to see then how they're actually able to take that into the long run pace, because of course it's a 2-hour race here. You've got a driver switch. It's how that second driver then compares against the first one as we see the rest of the grid up on screen.
Yeah, you can cycle things down. You got Norway 3 in P13, then you got Ireland 4 in P14, Germany 2 in P15, Denmark 2, P16. So this is where the points will be won and lost. Of course, there's points all the way down to P30 here, but of course the exact order matters a whole bunch, and whether you can get all of your country cars up into the top couple of positions, and you have to wake your way through a mid-pack as stacked as this, with the times oh so close. You can see Poland 2 in that last points-paying position at the moment for the start of this race, and then everyone else is outside of it. So Iceland 4, Iceland 6, Iceland 2, Iceland 3, and Iceland 5. So not great timing qualifying for the Iceland guys. They occupy the final couple of rows of the starting grid here today, but that doesn't mean all is lost for them. They still going to have ample opportunity to try and work their way through the field in this 2-hour event.
Yeah, we mentioned it. It's a 2-hour race. You've got a driver switch. Do you put your strongest driver in first and give yourself the best opportunity to be further up, and then maybe be slightly under pressure in the second half of the race? Or do you start with a driver who isn't quite as fast to start with, keep a solid score, get yourself in a good position, and then have that faster driver coming through towards the end of the race? Personally, I would go with a stronger driver to start with, get yourselves up at the front there, and then try and just hold on to those positions towards the end of the race.
There's Germany 5 with Andre Mulchers behind the wheel. They start in P6 here today, as the rest of the teams are slowly but steadily getting themselves to the starting grid to line up behind the safety car for this rolling start. Of course, since we are using the endurance pits here, that means that the start of the race will be coming out of La Source down the old pit straight, so down the hill towards Eau Rouge. That does make Eau Rouge our first corner, which can be an interesting situation from time to time, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But drivers just about getting themselves ready now. and soon we'll see that safety car move from its stationary position and we can get rolling here. Of course, it's a short pace lap here at Spa, so we've only got a couple of corners to go before we get to the green flag of this event. We're currently positioned just before the Blanchimont here. So everyone's getting rolling now. Paul, any final thoughts before we get this going?
Get yourselves through lap 1. Don't get any damage, because these cars can be affected by damage here, and get yourselves into a rhythm. Get that done early on, you'll find yourself in a good position later on in the race, because it'll be solid. If you're flustered, or if you're trying to push too hard too soon, you're bound to make mistakes, and mistakes cost you in this car.
They really do. They're heading their way into the bus stop then. Team Germany 1 from pole position will be under the control of the field from this point forwards. The drivers have to go on the green flag, so that's going to be a long wait until we get through La Source, and then we'll get the green flag. That will be the official start of the race. They are not allowed to go before then. So Lauren Henry for Team Germany 1 hitting his way through La Source now, just waiting for that green flag to drop. Everyone bunching up a little more, and we go green flag racing here for the Race of Nations in the European Digital Motorsport Cup, and there's a whole bunch of congestion on the way down towards Eau Rouge and Radio. There's been a big smash at the very back of the field. Multiple teams involved. In fact, I think we got a quarter of the grid all in this big pile up at the very top of the hill. And of course, Team Iceland, by virtue of being right at the very back of the grid, does plow into it.
My goodness, what on earth happened there? There was contact in the mid-corner of Radion, the right of Radion, up the hill, and then just everything just kicked off. Of course, cold tyres for these cars, and if they weren't careful, which it appears didn't happen up there, cars just losing control, and then as soon as one car loses control, you've got others reacting to that one, trying to keep out the way, and on those cold tyres, just ended up smashing into each other or into the walls.
Yeah, so big incident that has shuffled the mid-pack a lot here. It seemed like the top, I would say, 16 cars were all ahead of that, so they got out unscathed, but everyone else behind either got a little bit of contact and spun, or had to slow down a huge amount to try and avoid everything, or of course is already taking the tow back to pit lane. That is not necessarily the end of the race if you're involved in that instant, though, because the drivers do have one fast repair to be able to use over the course of this race, and I get that feeling for a lot of teams that'll be used pretty early on.
Well, there's 4 teams on pit road right now. They took a tour back to the pits. They'll be waiting a long time before they can get to use that fast repair, that free repair for them, as they come across the finish line here. Of course, the start line is down towards Eau Rouge, but the finish line is on the Grand Prix straight. So Team Ireland 2, they've headed to pit road. They've decided, here's a replay. So what happens in all of this? Well, there's already a car off. There's a car going for a ride there, and then cars just trying to avoid the incident, and they just ended up ploughing into each other. Nowhere for people to go. I have not seen a start like that for a very long time. Yeah, and it's not what we would like to see, of course. You know, we would like to see everyone trying to be a little bit careful on the first lap, just to try and get through it unscathed, and then you can go wheel-to-wheel racing a little bit later on. But some drivers just getting a little eager, and unfortunately those things do happen, especially when Eau Rouge and Radion is your first corner here at the endurance configuration of Spa-Francorchamps. It does tend to happen, but we still have a race on, and we still have the front half of the field that will give us some absolutely fantastic racing action here in a little bit. Meanwhile, while we were looking back at that incident and reacting, we saw Team Denmark actually get themselves from P3 up into P1. So that's Team Denmark 1 with Lasse back behind the wheel, has been making some very good progress here in the early running to be able to get to the pointy end of the field. Team Germany 1 in P2
They were the pole position sitters, but fall back to that position. We've got Team Poland falling back from P2 to P3 as well. So it seems like the shuffle at the front couple of positions was just Team Denmark trying to get their way through. But a great effort from Lasse back early on to be able to lead this race from the front. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to just be in it to win it, and Bach is doing everything he can to hold on to that lead for Denmark. Germany, though, in a strong position. Second place, Lauren Heinrich to going along. Here's another look at that start. Team Norway, it was, that got involved with one of their teammates. Oh. So this is a problem. Oh my goodness, how does nobody else hit him? But it was one of his teammates who just ended up with the slightest of contact, and that's all it takes through Eau Rouge Radio on lap 1 on cold tyres. Just the merest hint of contact, and that's it, your car goes around. We've had 12 cars on pit road from that incident. Yeah, so a lot of casualties. Of course, like I said, they can take the fast repair and get back out there, so it's not necessarily the end of the race. Here's the onboard from the other Team Norway car. Oh, he can't be going for the gap that doesn't exist in your teammate. That is unfortunate there, and of course, cars spinning and smashing into the big blockade at the very top of Radion. Of course, it was Oscar Biskrud also involved in that. That's the car that got tagged around for Team Norway, and of course he's part of the Kwanda Junior team. He's like, isn't he like 15 years old or something like that? Yeah, crazy, like that. Yeah. Crazy stuff. You know, way to go making us feel old here, Paul. Making you feel old? Yes, oh, come on. As these, yeah. It's like, you know, you're getting old when sim racers and policemen are always looking younger. But anyway, as we go through then, looking further back in your field then, Matthias Dahl in the Denmark 4 car. Denmark, at the moment in the point standings, yes, they've got a driver in the lead here, but then 12th, 14th, 15th, 16th all together for Denmark, although that Ireland car is coming under increasing pressure. No. Contact! Oh, that wasn't needed. What on earth happened there? And Brian McManus is missing the front clip. He's got serious damage to his car. He needs to get that back to the pits and get that free repair done. Yeah, it was just the slightest bits of contact, but sometimes the slight contact is all that needed. That's needed to send the car spinning and into the concrete wall, and that's unfortunate there for Brian McManus. Of course, entirely nothing he could do about that. Of course, he gave the lane of space on the outsides to Team Denmark, but it seemed like Team Denmark just wanted a little bit more than a lane of space. And going around the outside of Blanchimont is optimistic at the best of times, let alone at the start of a race. You see, the thing is, you've got to remember as well, with online racing, you just have to give just that slight bit more than a car's width. You just have to give that little bit of allowance to just make sure, be safe, that you're not going to end up getting into a contact. So, yeah, we have got live race stewards here for this one, folks. So, you know, it's not like the drivers are just getting free rein here. They will get punished by race control. Yep, they will. So we'll be keeping an eager eye on the penalties as they come through. I get the feeling, though, Paul, they'll be pretty busy for the very start of this race. So we'll have to take a little bit of time for those to come through. But coming up towards the, you know, around about 8 minutes elapsed at this point. A couple of laps under our belts here, but despite a couple of dramas that have happened, things at least at the very front here seem rather clean. The same could not be said for the rear part of the field, but let's just hope we'll get some fantastic action in amongst these front couple of guys. They're all still very, very close, aren't they? Of course, that draft really keeping the cars close together. I thought Henrik was just about to look for the race lead into the bus stop there, but decides against it. He's been having the slipstream and having the speed down into the corners here and into the braking zones. He just hasn't decided to make the move just yet. Maybe he's just hedging his bets, just trying to sit behind and maybe play a couple of games in terms of fuel saving, because there will be scheduled stops here.
Yeah, there will be scheduled stops here, but this leading group now, it's 10 cars long as this leading train of cars, and the others are not that far behind either. So Team Denmark and 6 and Norway 3, they're just on the tacking onto the back of this train. But these drivers are actually going to start catching up to some lap traffic in a moment, so we've got to be careful here as Germany gaining a position there. I believe that was Andrea Melchers moving up to 5th place. Yes, it was. My eyes do not deceive me, which is good this time in the morning. But yes, they certainly are. They're going to be a case of try and work together, try and not get involved in any sort of instance, and try and make sure you stay with those leaders, because if you start scrapping in this mid group of this gaggle of cars, you're going to slow each other down and you're going to cost yourselves a chance of winning this race overall.
You will. It's great to see this leading train all keeping itself together. Of course, we saw the lap times in qualifying, especially when it comes to positions around the top 10. They were just within, a couple of tenths of a second. So that's just how close that these guys were in qualifying. And of course, the closeness is going to be exaggerated because of the slipstream here, keeping everyone together. So it's great to see these guys able to keep this close. We're on board with Norway 6 at the moment. Kenneth Gulbrandsen, who's lifting and coasting and perhaps even clutching it on the way in towards the bus stop. So there's the strategy for Norway 6, it seems. Just get the fuel saving started early.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're trying to play that long game here. Look at that queue of cars. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, fixed setup here. So they're all on that same setup. So they're going to be pretty close in terms of how the cars perform, so it is down to that driver ability here. So as we see, hopefully they'll be able to keep this close throughout the race, and a drive-through penalty for the number 3 Ireland team.
Yes, that is Ireland 6 for unsafe rejoin. Here's car 36, which is the Poland 5 car. So that's something that I don't believe we saw on our live pictures, but of course the stewards being ever observant, able to spot that one and hand out the penalty. There's Ireland 6, as they will soon be notified of their penalty and then be brought down on towards the pit lane to serve it. And of course, given it's the endurance pits here, Paul, a drive-through penalty is still a rather major penalty.
You're talking about a minute cone to cone, but that doesn't take into account the little bit of time that you lose coming onto pit road from the bus stop chicane. So yes, it's going to be costly for them. They're in no man's land at the moment anyway. In 19th is the Ireland 6 car, so actually that is going to cost them potentially down to about sort of 22nd. Looking at the timing screen, live timing is available, by the way, at racebot.tv/timing2, so you can keep up to date with everything going on there. But yeah, these drivers, it's going to cost them with that drive-through penalty, but at the end of the day, do the crime, you've got to serve the time.
Yeah, you have to, and well, maybe argue about it a little bit later on. There's a pass happening deeper in the shot there that I just spotted. That's Team Norway 6 going down the inside of Poland 6, and Skursipsak trying to hold on around the outside. Gulbrandsen going for the move into the last source, but it isn't complete, and now they'll be side by side into Oruj Radion, and that was always going to happen. Poland 6 out into the wall and into the tyres, and now avoiding action has to be taken by everyone coming back on that one, because they are on the racing line coming over the top of the hill, and they take the reasonable option to take the tow back to pit lane. Yes, that's why side by side into Eau Rouge 99% of the time doesn't work.
Yeah, you could see that coming a mile off, couldn't you? See what you said, it was always going to happen there. And now the question is, did Team Poland squeeze and bring on that contact themselves, or did the other car maybe just drift that little bit offline into them. So that'll be, again, something for race control to look at. We're keeping them busy here.
Yeah, we really are. There's the contact into Rouge and Radion, and Skirstipshak heavy into the tyre barriers coming through one of the most dangerous sections of racetrack in the world. And of course, taking the tow back to pit lane, that will mean that he takes a couple of minutes to do that, and then of course you have to take his fast repair as well if he wants to get back out there. And of course there's lane transit time involved in that, especially if he's at the very back of the pit lane. So yes, unfortunate situation there. And of course, again, the realities of online racing rearing their ugly head again. But let's have a look back at the very front of the field. Team Denmark still leading from Team Germany. Team Poland third in line there. So 3 different countries on the podium here. Actually 4 different countries inside the top 4 there, as we have the Norwegian car of Sindre Setzos in 4th place as well. So good to see some decent representation at the very front of the field. But I gotta say though, Team Norway and Team Germany kind of fighting it out in the points right now, at least in terms of trying to eyeball and trying to predict the positions from the timing tower.
Yeah, it's all trying to get yourself in that position and trying to think that long game here now. That everybody in this leading group now is pretty much settled into a rhythm and working together with each other. Nicky Team on the timing scores for Team Denmark moved up a position over Team Norway, so that is the Team Norway 1 just losing a position to Denmark 6. But this is what you're going to see up the Camel Straight there. You're going to have them just working together, working to try and make this all work out for each other, so that they get to basically get to keep with that lead group and not have to fight too hard working the way through.
As of the last points update, of course we can't update it at a very rapid rate in terms of the points here, but at least the last update that we had was Team Germany in the lead with 441 points, Team Norway in 2nd place with 417 points, and Poland in 3rd place with 393 points. Denmark not too far behind in 4th with 384. Then Ireland in 5th in 240, and then Iceland in 6th, which is quite far off the back of everyone. They're on 93 points, so yeah, not ideal for them. It seems like it's basically a fight amongst Germany, Norway, Poland, Denmark at the moment. So 4 teams still involved of the 6, at least in terms of the overall win here. Great to see that they didn't have too many casualties in the early running, so that they were able to keep their points totals quite high.
Yeah, and that's crucial for them. It's important that they did keep themselves in that group. So as you say, Norway, Poland actually still not doing too bad in the sort of point standings last time we had a check, but as there goes Germany up a position in 6th place now behind. So again, that working together, although I say that, Norway not giving that one up without a fight, and back into 6th place for them. So yeah, that's interesting how that's all working out between them. And in fact, Moritz Lerner for Germany 3 dropping down to 8th place now, deciding that we need to sort of just think about what's happening here and think the long game.
Yeah, and of course, one of the Denmark car that just went past Lerner here, that was Nicky Team, of course, fairly well-known figure here in sim racing especially. Running on board with that driver now as he tries to work his way through, just a little bit off the back of the train in front of him, but there's no reason why, without with the slipstream, that he can't catch back up to them and continue to fight his way through. Of course, representing Team Denmark here, which are behind Germany and Norway in terms of the points, but they've got their drivers still in pretty good positions. They are leading the race right now. Team's in 7th place, and there's a whole group of Danish cars in 12th, 13th, 14th as well. So if they can pick up a couple of positions here, then Denmark are going to be looking better in terms of points.
Yeah, they need to work the way forward and need to do that. Although saying that, right as we say that, race control, car 29, which is the Denmark 6 car of Nicky team, being instructed to drop back 7 positions.
Ooh.
Well, there you go. Nicky will not be happy with that, I can tell you that for a fact, but race control have said that he needs to do that, and he needs to do it pretty soon, or else he fears the wrath, will face the wrath, should I say, of race control even more.
Oh no! There's a big smash, and Nicky team's involved in another instant. He's completely ploughed Team Norway off the circuit. That is awful there, and Kenneth Gulbrandsen had absolutely nothing to do with that. So if Nicky team wasn't in, well, Nicky team was in trouble with the stewards already, and he's going to be in even more trouble now, as you'll see this. Oh, straight into the back of Norway 6.
It's changing lines into the braking zone. It always, if you do that in any form of motorsport, if you're heading into a braking zone and you decide to change your lines when you're behind somebody, it's always going to end up in an incident. It always does. And yeah, it's not good luck as that. And Nicky, well, I mean, through all of that, he has actually dropped back his 7 positions. Whether that was forced or whether, I mean, look, he's come across one way, then comes across the other. It's all, when you're crossing lines like that, you're always going to get a contact happening with that sort of closing speed. And what's more, yeah, he'll serve that penalty by serving a slowdown penalty there.
Yeah, he would have, but whether or not there'll be further action still remains to be seen. And oh, drama at the front of the train, actually.
Oh,
there's
team again.
Team again, tangling with Norway 6 again. It was the same car that was involved in that incident down in towards the Combe. So come on, guys.
Yeah, well, Norway's come off worse from it. You can see the car dragging, it's crabbing there, and of course they've gone past the pit exit. Oh, yeah. They've got to do an entire lap like that. I mean, good luck doing that around this circuit, especially into the next 2 corners that they're going into. But yeah, that's big. As on the timing screen as well, Poland making it up to first place.
Yeah, of course. Drama, but there's no other word for it. At the in the leading pack here, Gulbrandsen maybe getting a little payback on the way down in towards the bus stop. Of course, you would prefer that it gets sorted out in the steward's office, but there we go. It does mean that it has kind of separated out this leading train just a little. But soon they'll be able to get back nose to tail, I suspect, and keep everyone involved in this. There's Team Poland's Team 3 down the inside of 2 cars on the way down in towards the Combe chicane here, and getting themselves up into P1 there. So that is that's an incredible little bit of driving there from Lemanek, getting Poland up to the front.
Oh, there we go. Race control, quick on the action. Drive-through penalty for car 29 for Denmark's number 16, causing an accident. So, yeah, they're on the ball on race control. You've got to be careful because you can't pick up too many penalties around here. As we said, drive-through penalty, you're going to be losing about a minute 10, minute 15 when you're going through and serving that penalty. So, yeah, pretty much your hopes have been dashed right now.
They really have. So, you know, there's been a lot of incidents, shall we say, in this race that has meant that the penalties have come through and the stewards have been kept busy. But hopefully things will come down a little bit further as this race goes on. We're looking at Team Germany 1 at the moment. They're in 3rd place, looking for 2nd here as they get the slipstream on Denmark and they go to driver's left side. It gets very tight. They're coming through on the Kemmel Straight, but it looks like Henrik has been able to get the position done. There's lap traffic ahead though that will hold him up a little bit. That's one of the Iceland cars that was involved in the incident at the very start of this race. They'll get out in the way. They will be shown the blue flags here. Of course, usually in iRacing, in the iRacing Sporting Code, the blue flags are advisory. Not so in this series. You do have to get out of the way when shown the blue flag here in this particular race, but that's not necessarily true for all iRacing races.
No, absolutely not. But the regulations, the supplementary regulations of this race, stating that you must respect those blue flags. So drivers are obliged to allow the leaders to go past relatively unhindered. You can't be expected to just completely come to a stop and just wave people by. It's got to be a little bit of cooperation there. Denmark 6, they've decided to retire their car. They're done. They're out the race.
This makes Denmark's position a little bit more worrying, considering they are, of course, still involved in the points battle fight. A whole bunch of countries at the very front of the order here. Germany have been able to get P2, 4 and 5 here at the moment, so that's a good points haul for them. I'm seeing the last update of the points. Germany on 441, Norway on 417. I'm not sure if that has updated since I last talked about it, but we'll keep you posted on that one. We're on board with Lauren Henrich in second place at the moment, looking back to the Team Denmark car that Henrich had passed on that previous lap. As it looks like at least right now, Team Poland have been able to get away in P1. They got about a second gap back to these guys, but the more crucial point is that well, they've decided it's go time and decided, well, I know everyone else is doing fuel saving, we'll go the opposite, we'll just go hell for leather and actually go for it. Speaking of going for it, Lasse back, going up into P2.
Yeah, but look at that, 3 Germany cars together in the standings, 3rd, 4th and 5th. They're in a strong position right now, Germany, in terms of the overall standings in the Nations Championship. So they don't need to panic too much, but there's pride there. You're a racing driver. You want to win. You want to finish ahead of your competitors, and that's exactly what they'll be aiming to do. But Poland now, they're trying to make a break for it, and if they do manage this and they pull out the gap, we've seen it time and again. As soon as the slipstream is broken around here, that driver at the front just seems to pull away.
Yeah, that does usually, that is usually the case here at Spa. There's the battle for first up on the screen in the bottom right. So you can see Poland continuing to extend the gap, or at least they're trying to, up to 1.1 seconds at the moment. Germany 1 and Germany 3, P3, P4. So continuing to get good points here for Germany. But then, of course, that can all change. Denmark still have a good gaggle of cars up and around the top 10, same with Norway, and Poland, if their cars gain a couple of positions, they're definitely still in the running as well. So with coming up to 30 minutes done in this race, the championship points standings at least is looking favourably to Team Germany at the moment, but that is certainly not a guarantee, and of course we still have pit stops to come.
Favourably, they've got the live total that we're seeing, they've got a 111-point gap. I think they're in a very strong position right now. Of course, those aren't official. That's just live standings as we sort of see it at the moment. But here we go, once again, looking to get that switch done on Team Denmark. And Team Germany back up into second place, but these two do need to work together. And in fact, I think they may have lost the slipstream in all of this. So Poland, Team 3, they are now outside of that slipstream, and Denmark just getting a compromised line because of that back marker, and that just pushed them wide through Malmedy, and that can cause you a little bit of floor damage if you're not careful over that curve. So it'll be interesting to see whether Denmark 1 are able to catch up here.
Here comes Norway 2, having to deal with the lap traffic of the Iceland car. That's Iceland 3 around the outside at Puon, able to get well out of the way. It's always a tricky situation here with the lap traffic coming through perhaps a little bit sooner than these drivers would have expected. Of course, we had that big lap 1 incident that really affected the rear half of the field, so that's why they lost a lot of time, and you're starting to see the lap traffic already, despite still being well within the first stint of things. Of course, in these in these LMP2 machines. We will be going around about 40-ish minutes on the stints, 40 to 50 usually. Usually on the bottom end of that range, considering how long on the throttle here you are. In these cars here at Spa-Francorchamps, Rasmus Busk down the inside of the Yap traffic, able to get that done in quite short fashion, but relatively soon, maybe in a couple of laps time, we'll start to see the drivers head their way down on towards pit lane for their first set of stops.
Well, Team Ireland 6 have already done that as a planned stop. They're onto pit road now, so yeah, they were one of the cars that were involved in one of the in that big incident at the start of the race, but they're on pit road right now, getting service done. It'll just be fuel on this, then they'll pull away and away they go. So, yeah, you're right, Conoric. We're in that sort of pit stop cycle now. We're in that window of when pit stops can happen here to start with. It's intriguing to see what the tactics are going to be. Are there going to be any driver changes on this first pit stop phase, or are they just going to keep everyone in and then do that driver change on the second pit stop?
A lot of decisions to be made here, and of course, you know, the strategy intrigue is also there in terms of whether you're taking tyres or not here in these LMP2 cars, because in some endurance leagues we've been seeing that drivers preferring to double or even triple stint the tyres here in these cars. Of course, since the stints are so short, given the fuel tank in these cars, the double and triple stinting is a lot more possible than it might be in some other cars, even in relatively warm conditions. Speaking of conditions, though, it's quite cool out there in terms of track temperature, 19 degrees Celsius. So despite it being a very clear day, we're still at static time, so 9 a.m. Is the static time. No, well, 9 minutes past 8 is the static time here, so a little bit of an odd static time, but there we go. We see the weather up on screen for you right now. 19 degrees Celsius track temp, which is going to mean that, of course, those double and potentially triple stinted tyres are going to last a little bit longer.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier. It's a lot easier to manage that. And to get that working. So yes, as you can see, these drivers, I think they will just do fuel only with these. I mean, when you're doing the driver swap, you've got to ask the question of, do you change, say, rears and just get rear tyres changed with these cars being rear-wheel drive, or do you basically just keep it as is and just push on and keep it nice and simple? But look at this then, Germany 3 right up the back of, in fact no, is that... this
is the race lead?
Yeah, this is the race lead, yes, sorry, absolutely, I do apologise, I'm getting that wrong. So yes, Germany 1 being able to reel in the race leader, and Lasse Bach hasn't been able to hang on to the back of that Team Germany car, so has he got a slight bit of floor damage, as I suspect, from that curb ride at Malmedy? Yeah,
that could have been a possibility. Of course, like you mentioned at the time, these cars can be quite sensitive when it comes to damage to the underside of the car in particular, so you have to be very, very careful with those curbs, and it looks like that Team Denmark 1 have lost quite a bit of time here. They're really struggling on this lap, aren't they? And you know, when they're put in a situation like this where they are now losing the slipstream to the cars ahead of them, it's not a great situation. And when you have also two German cars behind you trying to you know, continue to extend their advantage in terms of the points, that is a big problem as well. So, like I said, the Germans doing very, very well here today. Their current points total sits at 492. So they currently lead, with Poland in second place with 372, then Norway third with 369. So things are still very close there for P2 in points at least.
Yeah, they certainly are. Is that we've got a car on pit road, that's the 18. Now, whether that's a planned pit stop or not, because I can see that there was a note by race control in the official session, there was a drive-through penalty. We'll await official confirmation of that from race control there. But yeah, these two battling away, and again, I think that Germany, Lauren Heinrich, will just be happy to once again sit behind, get some fuel saving done, allow that Poland 3 team of Lemona to be able to cut the hole in the air for them and really help save Henrik some fuel. So we're past the first quarter of the race. Let's see how the whole strategy starts to pan out. It's going to be that last quarter where we really find out who has done what right.
Yeah, so these drivers are currently on lap 16 of their stints, at least those that haven't come down towards pit lane just yet. Usually in one of the league races that we also broadcast here on Race Spot, they usually went around about 18, 19 laps on an LMP2 stint. They could, in some select circumstances, push it all the way to 20 laps on a stint. So, you know, that's going to be the absolute limit as far as these cars are concerned. There's the update in terms of the points and confirmation of what I just said. So Germany trying to continue to stretch their gap and continue to establish their dominance over this race, but everyone else, P2, 3, 4, all very, very close. And of course, those still have prizes associated with them, with the cash plus those BenQ monitors.
Yes, and you want to get your hands on those BenQ monitors, that's for sure. That's certainly an aspirational target for them. But yeah, Team Germany in quite a commanding position. Now, is that one of the Team Germany cars that's in front of the leaders there? I believe it is.
It is Germany 6. It's lap traffic though, so they'll be coming up on them in just a couple of moments here. Germany 1 just staying up behind Poland at the moment, but they should be able to deal with this lap traffic in quite swift fashion. I don't think Germany 6 will want to try and get themselves involved in this particular battle, especially considering they've been swapping positions for the past while. Meanwhile, further back, P6 is what we're looking at here. Jarl Cien behind the wheel of the Team Norway car, of course. But if you recognise that name, then perhaps you watch the World Championship on the oval side of things here on iRacing, the eNASCAR World Championship, as you know, that's one of the drivers that's also in that series. So one of a few European representatives in the top oval series here on iRacing.
Yeah, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, to give it its full title. But actually, Jarl moved down to 7th place. It was Rasmus Busk for Team Denmark that moved up into 6th place on the Kemmel Straight. So Denmark just getting themselves into a little bit of a stronger position in terms of points out there. But Norway, I mean, they've got Jarl Thiel and they've got Sindre Sexors together in 7th and 8th place. And then Team Poland rounding out the top 9 in that little gaggle of 4 cars that we're seeing on screen.
On board with Poland 1, big lift and coast and clutch into the bus stop. So again, the fuel numbers trying to be attained there by Team Poland. We saw Team Denmark 2, Rasmus Busk, head his way down towards pit lane. That's the 18 laps on his particular stint. So we're getting to the point now where at the end of this lap, I expect to see the vast majority of the rest of the cars head their way down towards pit lane. Of course, we got some coming down already with 18 laps on their stint, but those that have been saving can push it to 19 and perhaps even 20.
We just saw up on screen there as well, the Norway 6, car 18, Race Control have made a decision. It was the incident down at the bus stop chicane, and that we saw where that Denmark car was involved again, Nicky Team. So they actually hit the rear of the 29 on braking, and so they've been given a stop and go penalty. Have that Norway 6 just when things can't get much worse for them. Well, there you go. They're in 26th at the moment. They're going to drop down even further.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how these pit stops turn out. So the scheduled stops continuing for those that came down with 18 laps on their stint. Of course, we might even see some driver changes at this point. We'll just have to wait and see. Oscar Biskrud also on pit lane here. He's just about getting himself stopped in his box. Of course, he was involved in an incident with his teammate that kind of was the instigation of that lap 1 pileup that we saw at Eau Rouge and Radion. We're seeing fuel only for Team Denmark 4, fuel only for Team Poland 6 as well. Same with a couple of the other cars. So it seems like the overall call is no driver change, fuel only for this first stop, which is unsurprising considering the usual strategy here in these LMP2 machines. Yeah,
it was as we expected, really, wasn't it? That it was going to be fuel only for them. So yeah, that it's what we were thinking. As here we go then. Some of your leaders onto pit road. Lasse Bach, Moritz Lerner, Andre Melchers, Denmark, Germany and Germany onto pit road, getting themselves a service here.
Yeah, so we're seeing Team Poland and Team Germany swapping once again on the Camel Straight, just in the main part of your screen now, as we get those switched over. So Germany back to the pointy end of the field, but these guys have been shading the position a couple of times over the course of this stint, so it's not a worthwhile thing to overhype the passes for the race lead at the moment. But pretty busy pit lane as we'll see those cars get themselves stopped and get themselves serviced as well. Again, we're expecting fuel only for this group of cars as well. That does mean, however, that 6 teams have been able to stretch the fuel out to 20 laps, which is not what we saw in the league race that I was doing just last weekend. But great job for those guys to be able to go the distance on the fuel. That will really help them out, especially when it comes to that last stint, if they have to take a shorter splash and dash than everyone else, or potentially miss out the stop entirely at the end of the race. I don't think the race is long enough to be able to do that, but there's still that to factor in, especially considering the pit lane is so long here.
Back taking longer. Team Denmark are still on pit road here, 46, 47 seconds. Oh my goodness, so they came in at the front of that queue. The question is, are they taking tyres? Because it takes about a minute to do fuel and tyres as your leaders come onto pit road here, or whether they've picked up a penalty coming onto pit road, we'll have to wait and see. But they're still standing there. My goodness, this is a nightmare for them. Now they're away.
There we go. Team Denmark 1 getting away now. That is a very, very long stop indeed. They're down into P19. That's where they cycle out into. That's what the stop time was. It was a 1 minute 13 seconds. So that is a very long stop. That is even longer than we would expect typically for a tyre stop as well. So it's,
I think he potentially was speeding on pit lane coming onto pit road. Potentially that would be, because that's a 15-second stop and hold as a pit lane speeding violation.
Yeah, I'm just going to cycle my own view back to see if he did get the speeding on pit lane penalty. We'll just have to see. I'm just going to get myself view, because what's the pit lane speed limit here is around, isn't it 60 kilometers now? If I'm on the, yeah, 60 kilometers.
Yes, it is. Well, the leaders are on pit road right now, so again, we were expecting fuel only stops here. The top 6 have been able to stretch it to 20 laps here, so that is interesting to see that they're able to do that with some extreme fuel saving as other cars come down onto pit road as well. And we're waiting to see if any of those cars pop up onto the jacks. Nope, fuel only. Team Germany, number 1, out in first place, although we have got cars coming through as the 2 of the Team Germany cars, the 3 and the 5 team, have come through up into 3rd and 4th place. So these pit stops, we're getting to see how this all starts to pan out here in this race. But Team Germany 1 back out to the front of this race.
I had a look more closely at Team Denmark 1's stop, and they were playing the game of cat and mouse on pit lane, where they were teasing with the pit lane speed limit and going perhaps 1 mile an hour over, and then dipping back down, because the way the pit lane speed penalty works here in iRacing is that it's an average time between certain points on the pit lane is when you get the speeding penalty, not because you go 1 mile an hour over in one instance, or 1 kilometer an hour over in one instance. It's an average. So, and Selassie-Back was really trying to get as much time on pit lane there, and I think he's been punished for that as well, because I didn't see that car go up and down on the jacks. So, but then again, if it is a 15-second penalty, that would then, under a normal fuel stop, that would bring his time up to around about 47 seconds. That would be, but his stop time was actually 1 minute 10. So that's the thing that's confusing me.
I mean, potentially deciding to save their free repair and get some optional repairs done to the car, potentially. That could be another reason for that longer pit stop, but it's put them out into a worse position now. That's dropped them all the way down to 17th. So we've had the first round of pit stops, and Germany, when you look at that on the left-hand side of your screen, out of the top 3 positions are taken up by Germany.
Yeah, Alex Dunn for Ireland 1 up into the pit lane now, and of course it's quite a trek here at the endurance pits as well. You have to go all the way through the Grand Prix pits, then you have to do what is basically a hairpin in the middle of the pit lane, and then down the hill through the old pit lane. Meanwhile, at the very front, well, not the very front, but second place, Moritz Lohner, Team Germany 3 up into second place. So great little pass there for Moritz Lohner. It does mean that Team Germany now P1, P2, and also P4 as well. So again, the point situation just keeps getting better and better for Team Germany. They continue to extend their advantage. I'm seeing them still on well, the points are just being updated right now, so we'll get to see in just a second.
Yeah, we'll see how things pan out. But yes, not exactly all of the pit stops have been done, because those cars caught up in that first lap incident are actually getting their first planned stop in right now. So actually they were able to go about 18 laps on their stints and able to get their service done now. So the last of those is happening, so hopefully that will all sort itself out, and then we'll be good to go to give you some updated points on the standings. But yes, definitely this is really now panning out to be an intriguing race. Lauren Heinrich at the front has just pulled out a 1.7 gap, so he's trying to pull away from his teammate of Moritz Lohner. Germany in such a good, strong position right now.
Yeah, they're doing very well, aren't they? But the trouble will come, I think, for Team Germany is when they have to swap drivers, because I think they've gotten, at least if I'm not mistaken, a lot of their strong drivers in first, which is why they've been able to do as well as they have been right now. But at least I say that with the exception of Team Germany 1 at the moment, because they have both Lauren Henrich and Kate Kajube. They can get behind the wheel of that car. So I think that Team Germany 1 car is still in a brilliant spot. But everyone else, driver changes, maybe a driver that's not quite as up to speed as the other driver, then could get some other teams back into the thick of things when it comes to the top couple of positions here.
Well, you're going to make that driver change in the next pit stop, aren't you? Because you've been able to go about 45 minutes on a fuel run. So another 40 minutes, that takes you towards the last third of the race. You need to be making that driver change, because they are using here in this race the iRacing fair share rules. So yeah, it's always a little bit complicated to explain that, but we try our best. But basically, they always work it out by how many laps the main driver, the one who's done the most laps. You've then got to do a percentage of that. It's 25% of that lead driver's laps. So yes, it's it can be quite complex when you work it out, as there's the updated points and Germany in absolutely dominant position. It's that battle between Poland, Norway and Denmark that's quite interesting to me, because they're all pretty close in points, and unfortunately for Iceland, getting the majority of their cars caught up in that opening incident is just costing them some big points here.
Yeah, not a great day for Team Iceland, but you're absolutely right, Paul. As the battle between Poland, Norway, Denmark continues on, it seems like the Germans are kind of out of touch in terms of the points at the moment. But of course, that could all change, and it can change very, very quickly indeed. We're looking at the P6 train right now. That's Team Denmark, then Team Poland, then Norway. And then actually there's a lapped Iceland car that's also at the very tail end of this one as well. So this is one of the battles that, this is the battle that you talked about in the points order between these three countries. Yaltien, we're riding on board with him on his roof cam at the moment, as he has the Team Poland 1 car of Milnek ahead of him there. And I think Team Poland, if I'm not mistaken, they must have gone for a driver change in that instance. I'm just going to double check. No, Milnek has been in that car since the very start of the race. So no driver changes, at least for the major teams, happening just yet in this one. Maybe with the exception of Team Poland 3, as they have changed out their driver. Dominik Blaža is behind the wheel of that car. It was Lamenek that started that car. So a handful of driver changes have happened already, but I wouldn't expect the majority of them until the next pit stop.
Yeah, you would imagine. Now, it's interesting to see they did a driver change, but they did that in the time that it took to do the fuel stop. So that's an interesting piece of information for us and for those drivers out there racing as well, because it means that they can do that driver change safely and not have to worry about it affecting their pit stop time there. So yeah, this is just going to be absolutely flat out for these teams out there to try and get themselves a good time. Now, one thing I'm noticing on my timing screen, oh my goodness, we see that change there, the 32 car. Now, I'm looking at my timing screen. Am I right in saying that they only took a 20-second stop for fuel in that 32, that Denmark 3 car?
Yeah, you would be right. That is an interesting one, but the thing is, I'm also showing them 24 laps in their stint, which is not possible in these cars. So that's
lap 5 on their stint right now on my screen.
Yeah.
So
it didn't quite register, at least on my software. But yeah, you're right. I am seeing it as only a 19.5 second stop. So what they've done here, taken the short stop at this point, and then they're going to take full tanks until the end of the race, I wonder.
I mean, there's one problem with that, as we've got some, car taking a bit of grass tracking there. That's Tien in the Norway 1 car. There's only one problem with that, which is if you're in traffic, and this is the Norway 1 try to serve their slowdown penalty for cutting the course, which they've done now. But if you're on the alternate strategy and you've been involved in gaggles, you need clear air to make that work, because you need to be absolutely flat out 100% to make that alternate strategy work. Missed the braking point, really missed the braking point there. A little bit ambitious with that move, and having to take to the runoff there. Fortunately, there is some asphalt there.
Could have so easily collected the car ahead of him, though.
Yes.
If he went just that little bit deeper and lost control of that, just that little bit more, that could have really ended in tears. But in the end, it was Yaltien's mistake, and it was Yaltien's incident, and no one else was involved in it. Meanwhile, back at the very front, the German 1-2 continues. Henreich and Lohner in those leading cars at the moment. They also have Melchers in P4, so we might, if Melchers can get past Blaža here, then we could possibly see a Team Germany 1-2-3, which would be absolute dominance from the Germans, but that would be brilliant for them. But what we want to see is some on-track action, and they might still give us that if they want to give a bit of a duel here. Here's the run from Team Germany 3 coming down the Kemmel Straight now. Oh, in all likelihood, they'll just lift and coast, and they will do so. They'll stick up behind their teammate.
Yeah, they pitted a lap earlier than the Germany 1 car. So Germany 3 just having to save themselves a lap's worth of fuel here now to try and get themselves more on par with their compatriots in the car that's in the lead of this race. But you're not really going to see much battle. What these two will do is just work together. They don't want to trip over each other and slow each other down, because they've got a good solid lead over Team Poland with their Poland 3 car. It's about 2 seconds between second and third place. There's the Poland car with the Team Germany 5 car of Andrea Melchers behind them, putting pressure on. So before long it could actually be a Germany 1, 2, 3 here in this race.
Yeah, which would be a particularly insurmountable position for everyone else to try and close some points back. So then the ball will just be in Team Germany's court, and then it's up to them whether they want to continue on and win this race, or if they're going to have incidents later on and throw it away. But for now, looking fantastic for them, and it seems like no one else can really get even that close at this point. Yes, there's a group of Norwegian cars further in the top 10. There's a handful of Poland and Danish cars that are in the thick of things, but none of those have been able to get themselves organised and get themselves to the front, quite like the Germans have been able to do so. And it just means that they're always going to be fighting from behind from this point forwards. We're coming up to 1 hour, 5 minutes left to go in this race. We still have at least one scheduled stop left here in this event. There's the battle for P5 up on screen between Denmark, Norway, Poland, and then another Norwegian car in 8th place as well. And these guys have been giving us some great action. There's a lapped Irish car involved in this as well that will have to get out of the way at some point of these leaders trying to get themselves through.
Yeah, again, now the Ireland car, of course, does have to adhere to blue flag regulations, and hopefully they'll pull over to the side here. No, they're staying in front, and well, these drivers now, they're in that queue, they're trying to work their way past, and it's not quite working out for them at the moment. Team Ireland are quite content to just sit in front. How long before the race stewards start looking at this and say, right, you need to move out the way now?
I mean, he's keeping on pace,
yeah.
So it's not like he's a rolling roadblock.
But the question I would ask is, are they keeping on pace because they're slowing the others down behind them? Or is it that they just have that much pace that they are able to keep to the rest of these cars behind them? That's the question I would be asking there.
Yeah, same here. But the slipstream should help out the Denmark and Norwegian cars to try and get past the lap traffic on the way in towards Blanchimont and then into the bus stop. They have to lift out before Blanchimont though, and it gives the run towards Team Norway, looking to the inside for the bus stop, and that's Tommy Østgaard through. Can he get the car stopped? Yes, he can for the bus stop. So Tommy Østgaard capitalising on the opportunity that was gifted to him by Team Denmark getting held up by the lap traffic. But is it Norway's turn to get held up by the lap traffic? That's what I wonder.
You would imagine that the Kemmel Straight is where they're going to make that move and work their way past, or maybe even before then. Norway, Tommy Østgaard, he can be quite a feisty driver. He can be determined to get past, and he's somebody who's no stranger to making moves here at Spa. And finally, getting a nose in on the Island car. That Island car is just not getting out the way there. Oh, that's caused a whole kerfuffle here, and they boxed the Ireland car in to try and get it out the way of these three drivers here. That's crazy.
Well, I think that was just the drivers saying, well, you're not getting out of the way, so we'll take things into our own hands and force you to get out of the way. In that situation, as the Island car then had to take a big old lift on the way into the Lacombe to be able to let these drivers go. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of frustration surrounding that, especially for Bastian Bus, who's part of the Team Denmark 3 car that got held up through Blanchimont due to that lap traffic. Of course, he'll be, his team will potentially be complaining to the stewards about that. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they submit a protest.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because they're all on the same setup here, because they're all on a fixed setup in this race, they are going to be quite close to each other's lap time wise, and you're not going to have that one car who's maybe really trimmed out the aero to get the top speed down the straights. You're not going to have that effect. You're going to have everybody being quite close together in terms of pace, especially along the straights. They're all going to be pretty even. It's in the corners where the drivers, and the corners of the braking zones, where the drivers make that difference.
Can make all the difference. Continuing with the onboard here on Team Denmark 3, Bastian Buss going up against Team Norway. Going to be a Nordic duel between the two of these. Bierskar keeping himself ahead for now, but Buss is going to get all the slipstream and all of the speeds coming over the top of Erosion Radion. And he's going to sit there and, well, you don't see that every day. Bump drafting on the way down the Kemmel Straights, hucking that nose into the rear portion of Tommy Bierskaar's car and pushing him down in towards the Lecombe.
I think it was only, if it was been ever so slight. I don't think there was actual contact there in the end, but definitely it was pretty close here. But we are reaching the hour mark of this race here, so we're getting to the point of the race where halfway, see where we stand and look forward to that second half of the race, as once again the points have been updated for us.
They have. Team Germany, 555 at the very front of the field here. A big gap. Back to Team Poland, who was on 369 points, Norway on 366 points, and Denmark on 300 points. So Denmark have lost a lot of points here, at least compared to when we last got an update. That is mostly because of that long stop for Lasse Bak. That means he's not inside the top 3 anymore. He's cycled all the way back into P15, so that's where the loss has come from there for Team Denmark. But Team Poland, Team Norway, still as close as ever. Coming up towards, well, we're exactly at the hour to go mark. Here we go.
Yeah, hour to go, and we can really push on as we've got drivers onto pit road. So this is the car that made that short pit stop. They made their short stop on the first scheduled stop of the race. Now they're making their full stop here.
This confuses me somewhat, because even if they stop now, they still won't be able to get to the end of the race on this stop, because they'll have to come down in for another
No,
splash.
but they were never going to make it to the end of the race, were they?
No,
Every car has still got to make 2 more stops yet. Although they actually... Yeah, that has actually confused me as well, that they haven't been able to make it to... he said, yeah. Well, no, they'll make 1 more stop. So yeah, every car has to make 2 more stops. This is the second stop for them. They're going to make 3 stops here.
Well...
Same as everybody else.
Sure.
Everybody else is going to make 3 stops in this race.
Well, we've got... yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'm being... confused by the current laps calculated remaining, because the Team Germany one is on 9 laps on their stint right now. We are estimated 29 laps to go. So if they're able to make an 18-lap stint here, they'll pit with 20 to go. That is within the range of getting to the end of the race, right?
Yeah.
There we go. But now this Denmark car that's come down on towards pit lane, they will, still have to make their splash and dash. So they'll be doing 1 extra stop compared to everyone else, right?
Nope. They made they made the short stop on their first pit stop. They're now making their second pit stop here. They'll have a shorter final pit stop again, because they're going to be able to go 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's just confusing me, because I've never seen this before, and I don't know why you would do 2 short stops. To try and get to the end of this race. Surely you would think that you want to just push the fuel as long as possible. But yeah, that's really thrown us a bit of a curveball there, I will say that. Meanwhile, further down the order, Oscar Biskerud continuing to make a good recovery drive here. He will get sent on down the inside. There's also a bit of contact between those two there. As this is the here comes Oscar Biskerud back, coming off of the corner, and he's back through. That was the Team Denmark 2 car that he was battling with there. Lucas Daugard was the driver that well, initially had the position and then lost position straight away, straight off the corner.
Yeah, it happens out in the bus stop chicane. You get compromised. If you take that tighter line into the chicane, you're compromising yourself all the way through that chicane, and then you can't get the run out of the corner. And that's just shown right there for him. So that car, the 15, is actually dropped back pretty far. Oh, it's one of the Iceland cars nearly wiping out one of the teammates.
Yeah, that's Team Iceland 3 that went very, very wide coming into Lacombe. They got on the brakes, it's just that they then came off the brakes for some reason and they went straight out in towards the runoff on the access road. So not the greatest of situations there for Aaron Oskarsson, as he will rejoin the circuit in a safe fashion and continue on out there for Team Iceland. But yeah, that was a very, very close moment there. Could have collected the again, like I said, his teammate further down the road, but just centimeters away from having that happen.
There's nothing worse than taking out your teammate. I can tell you that from personal experience. There is nothing worse than wiping out your teammate in a race, especially up at Lacombe. And that really does not feel good to you when that happens. So yeah, he'll be not be feeling great about that. The two Germany cars together, still working together. They haven't really pulled away from Poland that much now. They're still about 2.2 seconds ahead. So yeah, Team Germany, they've not really gapped out at front like I would expect them to.
Yeah, they haven't. So Poland's keeping them honest here, not allowing them to run away too much at the very front there. They still are hanging around about that just under 3 seconds back of P2. But the Germans still very much in control of this race, given P1, 2, then P4, P9, P11. So fantastic stuff, and the good fortune continues for the Germans here in this one. They just got to make sure they maintain this position all the way until the checkered flag, and then they will be crowned the champions of the Race of Nations here in the European Digital Motorsport Cup. We thank you very much for joining us. Of course, this is the English feed, and of course, if you prefer to listen to the race in your native language, then we do have other commentary teams on a couple of channels throughout YouTube. So you can go and check. I believe we have a German stream at least as well, and there's a couple of other languages as well involved in this one. So it's great to see that it's a multinational effort here to bring the broadcasting to everyone, and you know, it's exactly what happens in the real world as well. Yes,
and I look forward to more like this, where you have that multi feed. You've got the multilingual feed, and that really does help bring this esport of ours to a bigger audience and helps grow it as well. And if you can get it out to more and more markets, well, that is even better. It means that the esport as a whole for motorsports will grow and get bigger and better, and then more events like this can happen.
Yeah, that's what we want. More events like this, more competitions, bigger prize pools, bigger, bigger occasions, and sim racing has come leaps and bounds over the past couple of years, especially with the increased interest and and it's doing very, very well for itself, with many manufacturers getting involved, many esports organizations and things like that. So, and a lot of real-world drivers also turning their hand to sim racing as well. So it's great to see. Of course, the rest of esports had its big boom over around about 5, 6, 7 years ago at this point, and sim racing is continuing on the same trajectory as well. And it's great to see it become another discipline in motorsport here. It is what I'll say. It's not separate to real racing. It's very much involved and very much a part of the same ladder, I would say, even though maybe it's a separate branch.
I always liked the phrase that John Hindhaugh used on one of the broadcasts, one of the special event broadcasts. Yes, the cars may be digital, but the racing is real. And that is exactly what you see out here. It is a real race. They are all competing in this race, and they're all doing a fantastic job at the moment to really try and extract every last ounce of speed out of these cars right now, and also managing their fuel usage as well. These leaders, the first and second, third and fourth, you've got 1 lap difference between the two pairs there in terms of their strategy. So again, pit stops will become a factor in about sort of 5-10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think so. That's when the pit window will be open for the final the final run to the flag here, because they can go around about 40 minutes. So that will be their margin to be able to get to the end here. And of course we'll see those drivers that had maybe gone 18 laps in their stint come down in first on the just because of the mathematics. That will be around about 3 laps time, and then of course we'll have 4 laps time, 5 laps time for different cycles there as well. And of course the drivers that were able to go 20 laps in their stint for the first portion of the race, they'll be coming down in the latest of them all to get their splash and dashes, if they're able to match the fuel saving they did in this stint compared to what they did in the first stint. So that's when things might change here. And of course it's the decision for whether they want to take tyres or not as well, because do you think the fresh tyres are going to be valuable, just given that you only have 1 stint worth of advantage, because usually you'd have just that little bit more when it comes to an actual endurance race with many more hours than this one. We might even see some split decisions whether or not to triple stint the tyres or go for the fresh rubber at the very end.
I can't see them taking tyres. I mean, the extra time that it takes to get those tyres done, you have to make that time back, then some as well, to make it worthwhile. It's no point in taking those fresh tyres if you're only going to make back the time that you lost. You need to be making back more time than you lose in that pit stop to make it worth your while. So I would be extremely surprised. Again, it's a Sunday morning, well, Sunday afternoon now, but I would be surprised if any of these top cars do take tyres in the pit stop. I could maybe see somebody mid-pack throwing the dice and thinking, well, we've got not a lot to lose here, let's go for it and see what we can get out of it.
Well, it's worth taking the gamble sometimes. Especially if you don't have all that much to lose, you might as well go for the option that is more risky. But we see that in endurance racing time and time again, if the gaps allow certain teams to do that. We're looking back at P11 though, as that's going to be Team Germany 4. Involved in a bit of a fight with Team Denmark 4, so this is Matthias Dahl and Jan Marszalkowski. We've also got Team Poland 6 involved in this one as well. That's Mireki and this little trio working their way around for the moment. We got potentially a battle going on here, but then again there's still these fuel saving games that are happening here, so we may not see any real tooth and nail, wheel-to-wheel action into the final stint.
I think that's it. It's that final stint, and even then on that final stint, you are going to have to see a little bit of fuel saving from the drivers who weren't able to make it 20 laps. I think those drivers in particular are going to have to do a little bit of fuel saving in the final stint as well, whereas those that were able to go 20 laps on a stint, especially Team Germany 1 and Poland 3, those teams will be in a stronger position, because if they are able to go 20 laps again in this stint, that just means that they're going to have it a little bit easier coming into the final part of this race.
No, they will do, and you know, it's all about, you know, just especially for the German cars, just about comfortably getting to the end of the race at this point. The Germans don't need to really fight for any positions at this point. They're still in a quite commanding position when it comes to the points order at the moment. They don't need to be fighting for position with some of their minor cars, like the one down in P9 and the one down in P11. So it's you know, it's a great situation for them to be in, but it's also sometimes the most stressful situation, because you know that one mistake or even a couple of mistakes at this point for Germany that will put you in a bit more of a close situation with the Norwegians and the Polish drivers behind. But there's the update in terms of the points order in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Team Germany 564, Team Norway 399, Poland 387, and then Ireland getting up into P4. So Denmark have lost a ton of points, and the Irish working their way back through, because they had a pretty poor start to the race, considering they you know, got involved in a couple of instances here and there. But Oscar Mangan in P15 at the moment is the top-placed Irish car, gaining a good couple of points as he works his way through.
Yeah, that's really good for Team Ireland to be making their way forward, progressing forward there, and as we're seeing, lap traffic just having to get out the way of some of your leaders, having to take a wide line. Andre Melcher's there, just compromised a little bit, maybe a little bit of teamwork happening there, because of course Melcher's battling away with fellow Polish Team 3. So yeah, lap traffic just trying to give us as much of an advantage as possible, whilst also keeping out the way.
Yeah, it's important, especially when you lap traffic, to, you know, you do not want to lose time as the laps cars come through on you, because you have your own battles to be concerned about, and you know, it's a very prevalent thing, especially when it comes to endurance racing in particular. Meanwhile, there's the pass actually for position there between Team Norway 5 and Team Poland 4, a little bit further back in the shot in that situation. But yeah, it's always difficult being lap traffic, no matter if you're trying to get out of the way of cars of your own class, or if in a multi-class setting if you're in one of the GT cars, for example, trying to let prototypes by. It's always a game of you know, trying to min-max the situation in terms of lost time.
Yeah, you've got to work that calculation. You've got to do that calculation in your head and thinking, what's the best for us? How can we make this work for us, and really push on? Team Denmark 4 are onto pit road. They did 18 laps on their stint. They're now getting their second pit stop. You see, that's missing your pit stall as well. That's not good. Change of driver for them. Matthias Jensen, sorry, should I say, onto pit road. Now, the problem for them is 44 minutes remaining here, Connery. They're going to be pushing it for making it to the end without a splash and dash.
I'm seeing for the race leader, they are coming across the line with 22 laps to go. Of course, that can and probably will change before the end of this one, but maybe not by 2 laps, which is what the Denmark car, the Team Denmark 4 car, would require to be able to make the end of the race possible for them on that fuel tank, because the maximum that we have seen so far in this race is 20 laps, and 22 laps would be a very optimistic lap to try and get. Yeah, so I would say bordering on not possible. So it might, in all likelihood, have to be another splash and dash of Team Denmark 4 if they've made a bit of a miscalculation here. Look at Team Poland 2 down the inside of the German number 24 car, and they're down the inside just to go to the pit lane. How about that?
Yeah, that's a bit strange, but I will say that Denmark car did actually take tyres as well, so they took a full service on their pit stop. So interesting to see how this all pans out now. So fuel and tyre stops are happening now. So Poland 6 and also Norway 4 onto pit road. We saw the Poland team come on pit road. So it's now getting to that margin where they've got to start making those pit stops. 19 laps for that Poland 6 along with Norway 4, so they made 19 laps on this stint. So I would imagine if Team Germany with their 3 and 5 cars are going 19 laps in second and fourth places, they should be coming in this time by, if they can make it to 20 laps, I think that will be advantageous for them.
Yeah, because right now, even those coming down in right now are going to be marginal until the end of the race. But the Germans in particular that have been able to push it to 20 laps in their stints in some instances. Even Poland T3 also went 20 laps on the first stint here. Okay, Team Germany 3 are on the pit lane. That's why you see Moritz Lerner dropping down the order. So they've decided to come in with 19 laps on their stint. So that means they will, again, it's going to be potentially 20, 21 laps to try and get to the end of this race from that point, which is a big ask, but they'll have to do it. Team Germany 3 are on the pit lane. Germany 1, Poland 3, Germany 5, Norway 2 as well, all stayed out in that situation. So they're going to be a lot safer than some of the other teams coming towards the end of the race in terms of trying to get the fuel to last that long.
Germany 3 and 5 both came in at the same lap on their last pit stop. So on the first pit stop they came in on the same lap. So that Germany 3 car has not been able to save quite as much fuel as the 5 car. So even though they were in second place with the Germany 3 car, they've not quite been able to get the same amount of fuel saving out of the car as their teammate. Marius Zug is getting into that car for Germany 3. You're going to see a lot of driver changes. I think this is where you will see the majority of driver changes happen in this race.
Yeah, I think so too, with around about 40 minutes left remaining. There's Team Germany 1 out there still circulating. They're going to come to the end of their 19th lap here once they come across the line. So they'll either pit in now or they'll pit in at the end of the next lap, because that would then be 20 laps on the stint. So Team Germany 1 have been doing very well in terms of the fuel saving, and of course they have all the track position in the universe as well at the very front of the field. There's a slightly damaged rear end to one of the Team Germany cars there down on pit lane. You can see the rear right hand side has been pushed in just that little bit, so that's some damage there for Team Germany. They won't take the repairs, of course. There's, when it's that minor, then it's probably not worth.
It's probably not worth. What is worth noting is that Poland 3 and Germany 5 are onto pit road together. I mean, look at them, they're literally almost side by side there. Germany 1, which came in on the same lap as Poland 3, out there for another lap, so they're confident.
I was going to say, surely they're not going to go side by side through the hairpin. That's not even possible. So Germany will have to fall in behind here. But sorry about that, Paul.
No, it's fine. I mean, if anything, it was them trying to gain a little bit of ground there. But Poland was never going to back out of that one, that's for sure. And so, that Team Germany car having to just fall into line once again as they go down the endurance pit lane here.
Okay, so these guys pitting, and again, it's in all likelihood going to be fuel only for these guys. That's what we have seen for the majority of these final stops. I'm not seeing many people, or if anyone, going for that long stop apart from Team Denmark 4. They took the tyres, and we mentioned that at the time. Driver changes, though, for these drivers that have come down on towards pit lane. So Nicholas Laubisch behind the wheel of the Germany 5 car. And of course other changes happening as well as we speak. Colin getting behind the wheel of Norway 3. And this is, like I said, when all the driver changes, or most of the driver changes, are going to happen, but it's still fuel only. That's what we expected to see from these drivers. Poland out just ahead of Germany, only just though ahead of Germany 5 there as they head their way out on towards the pit lane exit and back onto the circuit. Of course, that position could well have swapped in amongst that pit stop phase if the pit stop times were any different, but they came out as they came in.
And there's some tyre changes for the 20. Race leader is on to pit road. So here we go. Germany won. They're finally making their pit stop. Team Poland won, with the only team as well to go 20 laps on that stint there. As well as Denmark won as well. Denmark won had gone 20 laps on their last stint. So yeah, a few of the teams able to go that 20 laps on the stints here. But yeah, as we get here, a warning has been given to the 26, which is the well, it was that Germany 5 team that was driving in the working lane, as it's being called, rather than the fast lane, which is where you see the leader driving down right now. So just a warning for the 26 car.
Of course, you know, it's one of those things that is enforced by certain leagues and tournament organisers that, you know, also is reflected in the real world as well, where you can't be in the what they call the slow lane on the driver's right-hand side coming down this pit lane, and you know, just due to the safety in the real world of the of all of the crews from the certain teams. But of course, since we don't have crews here at Sim Racing, then it's less for a safety reason and more for a competition and realism reason. But Keiko Schubert getting behind the wheel of that Team Germany 1 car, so he's going to be good until the end of this race now. There's the 34 seconds of fuel required, and getting back out there and away. That is surprising to me, though. I think maybe Team Germany are playing it safe with the fuel here. They didn't need to take a full tank of fuel to get to the end of this race, but they felt like they had the gap to be able to do so, and that's what they've done. So it's great to see that they are playing it conservatively. Well,
because they've played it conservatively, it means that they're able to just push on that little bit more. So you might really see some quick times come out of Kay. Of course, Kay Koshube, one of the fastest sim racers around, so he definitely will look to extract all he can out of that car. Of course, worn tyres for them though, so yeah, they will have to take that into account with this stint here. But battle ongoing. It's embroiled in a battle here. Well, this is the 11th place Denmark #1 car. They're actually pretty close together to that Team Norway 3 car in front, so about a second between them.
Yeah, this is the closest battle, at least inside of your top 10 here. Gulish trying to lock onto the back of Colin. Those are the two drivers involved. Norway ahead of Denmark at the moment, but Gulish a lot of time there, coming through the Lacombe chicane, through Malmedy, trying to tease with these curves, but don't overstep the mark too much, otherwise you will find yourself either spun around or in a barrier, now through Bruxelles, or of course, as I like to call it, and a couple of the commentators as well, Rivage, now in towards Jackie X corner. Gulish a little bit scrappy and a little bit loose on the exit there, has lost him a little bit of time, but now on the entry to Pouon, the fantastic downhill double apex left-hander, and Gulish continuing to lose a little bit of time here. It looks like that's a little mistake there, coming out of Bruxelles into Jackie X corner, kind of rattled him a little.
Yeah, he's in that draft zone. He's in that point where you can pick up that slipstream and try and catch up to the car in front, but that Denmark, that car in front is just pulling away. So it's the Norway car, sorry, should I say. We're on board with the Denmark car. That Norway car just pulling away, just easing away. Team Denmark 3, that's the car with that alternate strategy, by the way, that's not too far ahead. It's just come through La Source. They're on lap 12 of their stint. Now they're going to be going to lap 18 of their stint before they, lap 18, maybe lap 20, depending on how they work the fuel. Yeah, it's not worked out for them, or has it? No. If other cars have to splash and dash, then that will pay out for them a little bit better. But overall, at the moment, it doesn't look like it's the most promising of strategies here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like. like you said, though, might be able to pick up a couple of positions on those drivers that have to come down in and weren't expecting to having to come down in again. And of course, there's a lot of lost time when it comes to coming back down towards pit lane here at the endurance pits at Spa. So they would be hoping that they don't have to come down in again to gain that or to retain that whole bunch of time. Meanwhile, look at this. This is P2 at the moment. This is closed up all of a sudden, hasn't it? Team Germany 3, Team Poland 3, Zug versus Lemanek, and Poland are all over the back of Team Germany here, and well, they won't be going for the move into the bus stop just yet, let me tell you that. There's the updated points on the bottom right hand side of your screen, as Zug has completely butchered the first apex of the bus stop, but Lemanek is not close enough to be able to capitalize, but he will get the slipstream on the way down in towards Glass Horse, and if required, the slipstream all the way down towards Eau Rouge Radion, then Kemmel Straight.
But what you're finding here is that Germany car at the moment is having to do some fuel saving.
Yeah.
Because they were one of the first ones to come onto pit road. They're on lap 4 now of their stint. So they're having to do some extreme fuel saving. That's allowed this Poland Team 3 to come in and Team Germany 5 behind as well to come into this. And they will facilitate this move. Will Team Germany 3, will they? Yeah, lose as little speed as possible. They want to be behind that Poland car to get the slipstream here.
Yeah, they want to be able to get to the end of this race on just this tank of fuel, nothing else. Otherwise, they'll be cycled down the order if they have to take the extra stop. And, well, Germany do have the points buffer for that to happen, let me tell you that. But they don't want to be in the situation where they're having to look at, okay, how many points can we lose by drivers having to come down in for a splash and dash. Meanwhile, you can see Anton Gulish down the bottom right. He's come down into the pit lane for Team Denmark 1 and back out. Well, they're coming through the middle of the pit lane, so they are just on the entry there rather than the exit. That's
a very early pit stop because they were only on lap 3 of their end of lap 2, start lap 3 of their stint there.
Yeah.
So something's gone awry there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm seeing their 3 laps on their stint right now, which is, yeah, you don't just come down onto the pit lane and then come down onto the pit lane again 3 laps later. Maybe sped on exit, that could be an explanation.
Potentially, yeah.
But yeah, that would be a 15-second stop and hold penalty that you'll have to say within 3 laps of coming down in, and well, you just went 3 laps, so that would make sense to me. But we'll just have to see whether or not it's a 15-second hold. I'm
keeping an eye on that pit stop time. It's gone to 17, 18, 19 seconds. Something's gone awry there. Or they've come out and they've done that change of driver and Gulish has just gone, do you know what? These tyres, I can't live with these.
Yeah, that could possibly be it. He's now 35 seconds stationary on the pit lane, so this would be indicative.
Could also be damage as well, because if you get a what's commonly known as the meatball flag, then you have to come and serve that within 3 laps. So maybe having to get some mandated pit repairs done to the car, but they're back up underway now.
Yeah, and I didn't see that car go up and down on the jacks either, so I don't think it's tyres. So it's still a long stop there for Team Denmark 1 in the grand scheme of things. It does work out, though, to be 30 seconds plus a 15-second stop and hold, though. So that's one thing to know, but maybe that's just a bit of a red herring. But they are back out there now, P21. More lost points, though, however, for Team Denmark, which is something that they really can't afford. Ireland is still ahead of them by a handful of points at the moment. That's the points battle for P4. So, yeah, Ireland with continuing on with the decent recovery, and the fact that some of the Danish cars are having problems helps them out quite a bit.
And of course, don't forget Denmark are down 1 car as well.
Yeah.
After the retirement of the Denmark 6 team. So yeah, they are down 1 car, so they're affected by that. The only 2 retirements in this race actually, and both of them, well, one team didn't even make the start by the looks of things, and to Team Denmark 5 and 6, so Denmark got the 4 teams really doing it the hard way.
Yeah, it's definitely up against it with the amount of retirements that they've had. But it's fair to say that Ireland have also had a lot of retirements in this one, so they're continuing on.
Well, not retirements. They had incidents, but not retirements.
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's, you know, because a handful of cars they are still running out there.
Yes.
It's just that the bottom of the ticket fooled me there. But yeah, there's the swap though for Team Germany, P3-4. So Laubisch up into P3, Zug down into P4. Of course, doesn't change the point situation for Team Germany, but it does mean that Laubisch puts one of his teammates in between himself and Viderka, who's quickly closing in that Team Poland machine.
Yeah, it's pulling over to the side there, and Denmark moving forward on Team Germany. So Jorgensen for Team Denmark, but getting in position up to 8th place for them now, ahead of Germany too with Lucas Gabler. But that Team Denmark 3 car is the one that we're expecting a pit stop from in about 3 or 4 laps time.
Yeah, we are. Of course, they're on that off-cycle sort of strategy thing that they were trying to do. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on their progress as they try to play some shenanigans in terms of the pit stop strategy here today. Continuing with this onboard though, with Team Germany 2, Lucas Gabler is piloting that car at the moment. It's currently P9, Team Denmark 3, Jorgensen's ahead of him. So we'll have to see how this battle ends up as it continues on, but right now the main concern, especially for those teams that have only been able to hit 18 laps in the first stint, 19 laps in the second stint, this is when they start to worry a little bit whether or not they're going to be able to get into the end of the race. For a lot of them, well, for a handful of them it will be relatively okay, but some of them might still be very, very marginal, and they're going to have to worry about having to come down that very long pit lane again for just that little bit of extra fuel.
Yeah, it's there'll be lots of calculations going on, lots of teammates going, we need some more lift into coast, more lift in coast, we need you to save that fuel. Reminds me of Felipe Massa at a Grand Prix once, with Rob Smedley just constantly in his ear going, look, sorry mate, we need more lift in coast, mate, we need you to save more fuel. And that happened one year, so you'll be getting that talk from them that we'll need that bit more, just give us that little bit more to get us to the end, because the last thing that they want to do is spend a minute traversing the pit lane, let alone the time actually held on the pit box to get the fuel.
Always a big danger here at this layout. You know, it's really punishing having to take an extra stop compared to everyone else, or rather a handful of your competitors. Jorgensen teasing with the exits of Malmedy as he'll head his way through Brussels now. Clean and tidy from this point forwards, hopefully for him. The point situation hasn't really changed all that much. Actually, it has changed quite a bit. I'm having a look at the updated points right now. Poland and Norway tied on 390 points. So 390 points. Tied second place, Poland and Norway. So a couple of these battles going to be crucial here in this one. There's a Poland and Norway battle for P12 that we can see up on the screen for you now. So that might be one of the turning points in terms of that little battle in the points. And of course, you know, you got potentially battles further down as well. But this is one of the main ones between a Polish and a Norwegian.
I'm just looking at that Denmark car that owes us a pit stop soon. By the way, they just did a 2:01.8. They're the fastest team out there on track at the moment. That's purely because they've got the lightest car at the moment on track. But I'm just looking at their times. I reckon that they'll come out into about 16th, maybe 17th position. Look at the timing screen. So it's then a case of what positions will they gain if anybody does have to splash a dash at the end. I'm looking at teams like Germany 3 and the Poland 6, Norway 4. Definitely Denmark 4 will be looking at having to do a splash and dash. Ireland 4 as well. So there's a number of teams out there that we think are on that edge who will have to give us a splash and dash at the end. So that's what that Denmark 3 are relying on, is those teams having to make an unplanned splash and dash.
Yeah, that's going to be the difference maker here in this mid pack in particular, where it's just a game of like, oh, we really could have done with an extra lap in the first stint or the second stint, for example, to be able to make us a little bit safer here at the very end. But now for a lot of teams, it's the situation they find themselves in where they have to try and lift and coast as much as possible. You can see Team Norway, they're just basically making the braking zone double its length by just lifting and coasting, coming down the final third of the Camel Straight there. So they know what the situation is.
Well, they're dumping the clutch. They're doing everything that they can to reduce that fuel usage on board that Norway 4 car. A little bit of a slide there on the exit of Brussels. And the thing is, tyres. These tyres are not going to feel pleasant towards the end of this 2-hour stint.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation, isn't it? Where you're having to save the fuel, you're also having to deal with some very worn tyres that have been on that car since the very, very start of the event. And you can see, for example, the Team Norway car, or rather the Team Norway car, they are currently around about a second, if not more, off of the best pace that they're able to manage over
Denmark
the
3
course of this event. There they are. They come down in.
So they made it 18 laps there. So they decided that was the end of their stint. So this is their plan. Is it going to work? It's a tall order.
It is. They're kind of fighting. Ooh, careful with the pit exit wall there. You don't want to be grazing up against that. But I think for Team Denmark 3, their fight is more with those other cars that have to take the splash and dash at this point. At least if you ask me, they're not looking for those top positions, but they're looking for trying to capitalize on the mistakes of everyone else. As they must have planned this since the very start if they're going to commit to this sort of strategy. But now, down on towards the pit lane, they can get that service done. Of course, only expecting fuel going in, and we've got about 10.5 or so laps remaining, so no point in taking the tyres at this point. And soon Jorgensen will be off and away, and we'll get to see where he files out. He's currently up behind Denmark 2. He's 16 at the moment. I'll just have to wait and see whether he loses ball positions.
All I will say is that I am a commentary god. I'm kidding. I said either 16th or 17th looking at the timing screen. It's coming out in 16th place here. So, yeah, right as we expected there with that strategy. But now relying on those cars in front making final splash and dashes.
So Denmark 3's fate is kind of in other teams' hands at the moment. That's the situation for them. They can just continue out there in their clear air until those potential final splash and dash slashes happen, and then they will be able to find out where they are in relation to everyone else. That's just the excitement of a final stint of a race like this, is where you get to see where everyone is compared to each other without any of those differences in terms of strategy. It has to be factored in at other times. Having a look at Poland 2. Yeah, 11 at the moment for Poland 2. It's they're involved in this little group here for P10. So Team Germany 4, Poland. This is number 22 of Poland 2 here. So they're still involved in the thick of things here. In amongst Team Germany and Team Norway. It's strange because I've got them on iRacing and on the timer screen as Poland 6, but they're actually Poland 2 on our graphics. So yeah, that's why I was a little bit confused there. Yeah,
I'm the same as well. But there you go. I've got exactly the same there, Connery. They're in behind that Team Germany car. Now this is where it's not just the Team Germany 4 car that's in front, but the Team Germany 3 car, which is in 4th place. They're needing to do something which they've not been able to do all race, which is go 20 laps on fuel. Because we're at that point where there's about 10 to go. It's going to be very tight for them.
it might even be tight for those cars ahead of Norway 4 as well, because Germany 3, Poland 6, they are 10, 11 laps in their stint, and we've got about 9.5-ish laps to go, so it's getting pretty close for those guys too. So
Poland 3 we know can go 20 laps.
Yes.
We know that they could go 20 laps, so right now I think they're in that position and they're safe. It's Germany 3, it's Germany 2, and looking down here, Poland 6, which is Poland 2 on our graphics, and Norway 4. They're on that borderline. They're on that cusp of it being a 20-lap stint and having to do something that not being able to do all race. Denmark 4, they're on lap 12, well, lap 13 of their stint right now. They're definitely going to have to splash and dash here.
Yeah, that looks like an almost a certainty for them. So that's in their future, unless they're hoping that the natural lap time fluctuations, change the actual distance that we have to run here in terms of laps. But yeah, that's a big hope that you have to be waiting for. So it looks like they will have to come down in, more likely than everyone else. But the situation at the very front still remains as it was, a good amount of time ago. It's still Team Germany 1 leading the way. They got a 6-second advantage over Team Poland 3 now, so they've been able to pull up the gap quite well. There's the updated points on the bottom right, though. Germany 582. They, again, continuing to gain yet more points. Poland on 420 in P2. Norway 375. So that tied moment between Poland and Norway just a little earlier on has completely been broken, and Poland are now out ahead.
Yeah, and find themselves in a good spot as well, as they are actually. You see them side by side with Germany 4 there and getting ahead. So Team Poland working their way forward, improving their points all the way along. And in fact, look at this, Jensen down the inside into Puol. That's not really a traditional overtaking spot right there, but that worked out nicely for him.
Yep, and now, oh my words, Denmark 4 looking on the inside of Germany 4, coming through the Fania. You can see that as we were running on the back of Poland 2 here, looking back at all those cars trying to scrap it out 4 positions behind. So the Germany coming through the order and getting yet more points is not what any of these teams would have wanted to see, but it seems like that is happening here. Oh, Denmark just had to slam on the brakes there as they had to run over Germany, but they didn't have the gap to go for. Now they go for it, as there's Denmark coming through on these cars, and they get both passes done down in towards the bus stop. That's how crucial the fuel is here. Everyone's having to lift and coast into the bus stop, so that means if you do want to gain track position, it's basically free.
This is a 5-car train, by the way, that we've got here, because Team Ireland have joined the party now. They're getting involved in this one. So this is a great scrap from 10th down to 14th at the moment. This is great stuff to watch, because everybody doesn't want to be the lead car in this group. Apart from Denmark 4. Denmark 4, I think they do. We said that they potentially do owe us a splash and dash. Maybe they're thinking we need to run away, get as much gap as possible to try and get ourselves in the best position for the end when we do have to do a splash dash, potentially.
Yeah, just something I noticed though, the best laps for the drivers or teams in this group have been 201, mid 201s. They did 205s and 206s last time around. That's how much they are trying to fuel save at the moment and trying to give way to cars behind and trying to sit up behind other cars to try and slipstream. That's how crucial the fuel is here, that they're willing to lose 4 seconds, 5 seconds a lap to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, there comes a point where you're losing far too much time. Though that's the thing. You can. There is a certain thing of over fuel saving and costing yourselves more than what it would be worth for you to come on to pit road. So yeah, we're at that point where they're all desperately trying to hit a number. And they're all desperate trying to get themselves the best possible slipstream and fuel saving that they can get. And right now, Poland 6 out of that, because it's now a 4-car train, because, well, Team Denmark 4 have pulled out a 2-second lead over this gaggle of cars. They're all squabbling over who gets to be behind in the draft.
So here comes the move down the inside for Team Norway 4, trying to get past the German number 4 car. So that battle continues on. We've now got Team Ireland 2 on the back of this as well. Here comes the move to the inside again for Lassource. Heyerdahl looking for at least one position. Had 2 on the cards as well. Tries to get the traction off the corner. That's easier said than done on older tyres. So Germany will keep the overlap here down the hill towards Eau Rouge Radion, and they will back out of it. They go single file. I think they might have seen what happened earlier on with drivers trying to go side by side through Eau Rouge.
One thing of note, by the way, that Team Denmark 4 car that's romping away from these lot, their pit stop was 56.0 seconds. Did they take fresh tyres as they go 3 wide into... Oh, like, calm there, Team Ireland having to back out of that one. But, yeah, has Denmark 4 going for it because they're on those fresher tyres?
Yeah, that could potentially be the case. That's, you know, they're going, they're basically setting times relatively near their best times of the race, so certainly very, very comfortable indeed. Even with this onboard here in this little pack that's all trying to fuel save off of each other. We're on board with this Picky here, which is Poland 6 in the server, but Poland 2 on our graphics, as they will continue to sit in line at this point and, you know, hope and pray that they're able to match the field numbers to be able to get to the end here. That's the crucial thing for some of these drivers, at least in this particular battle. Of course, remember, Norway and Poland are having to try and scrap it out in points for P2 in the result order as well. So still storylines yet to develop here in this race. Yes, Team Germany have run away with things at the very front and simply haven't looked back, but you know, there's still prizes on offer for P2 and P3. It's certainly worthwhile fight to cover.
Yeah, you've got to try and get that to the end and try and get those prizes, and points mean prizes. As again, this gaggle of cars coming across the line. Ireland 2 now. Them and Germany 4 are on 14, just completed 14 laps of their stint. Norway 4 and Poland, the Team Poland car there in this, completed 15 laps in their stint. Oh, have we lost?
I think we lost Denmark 3.
Denmark 3? Or did they have an issue? Did they have a spin?
I'm just trying to look. It looks like they might have had a technical failure for Fredrik Jorgensen. So it looks like they've had a problem. It's actually Matthias Dahl. Yeah, it was a problem for him. That is unfortunate there for Team Denmark 3. As a result,
Dahl wasn't in that car though.
Oh, we're getting a couple of... there's Jorgensen's disconnection. So maybe a couple of problems for a couple of Danish drivers here with some technical internet issues here in this one.
Yeah, I mean, is that a case of... We've seen it before where a nation, one ISP decided to reset an internet connection for all the customers at the same time, and we've seen that before on races here. So you never know, something might have happened if they're on a particular ISP.
Happened to me before with my ISP as well, which is not great, but yeah, it's just, like I said, the realities of racing on the internet. Sometimes you do have to deal with those issues. And of course, until we can get into a LAN environment where we're all live at a venue, those issues will still be prevalent. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's simply what you have to deal with here. Just imagine it like you would have a mechanical failure in the real world, for example, like you lose like third gear or something and have to bring that car down on towards pit lane. Meanwhile, Peter McCann coming out there for Ireland. We've got Team Denmark 3 getting back out there as well after their problem. So yeah, I mean, it's going to put them even further down the points order in their little fight with Team Ireland. So it's, yeah, not too fantastic for them. But we're coming towards the end of this race now, Paul. We are around about 4 or so laps from the end here, with 8 minutes and 10 seconds left remaining. This is when we'll start to see maybe a driver start to think about coming down in for their splash and dash.
If we're 4 laps away, Team Germany 3 are right on that edge, because they haven't been able to do 20 laps yet. They've just completed lap 16 of their race. So the team in 4th place, they're having to do some extreme fuel saving to get themselves to the end without having to take a splash and dash there. So that's the one. Team Germany 2 as well, they'll be, when they come across the line, they'll be finishing lap 16 of their race. Team Denmark 4, they're on lap 18 of their race stint, so they're going to have to make a pit stop. And Norway 4 as well, I do believe, may potentially have to take a splash and dash here.
Yeah, so a lot of a lot of worried pit crews at this point, and a lot of worried drivers about the fuel mileage of these cars to be able to get to the checkered flag. We might even see a team or two run out of fuel on the final lap if they decided to stretch it just that little bit too far and the car gives up on them. We've seen that time and time again in endurance races here on iRacing as well, so not outside the realms of possibility. But inside the final 7 minutes left remaining of this race, Team Germany still in that brilliant spot. They hold the points lead by a significant margin. I've seen Team Denmark 4 coming down on towards pit lane. They, of course, were not able to go the distance, so therefore they come down in and get a couple of laps of fuel to the end.
Yeah, so as we suspected there with them, they were having to come on and get their pit stops done. Yeah, it's there's one or two that I think are going to be worried, and they're going to be right on the edge, but potentially get away with things. So we'll have to look out for coughing and spluttering of cars towards the end of the race.
Yep, we will. Good thing is, though, at least for the mid-pack runners, their speed has picked up a bit since they were doing the whole trying to get behind each other and trying to fuel save situation. They're sort of back on pace now, at least for the age of their tyres. So things seem to have calmed down a little bit more inside that mid-pack order compared to around about 15-20 minutes ago. But yeah, there's still that P12 train P11 train, excuse me, between Ireland, Poland, Germany. We've even got a close run for the final podium spot between the two Team Germany cars as well. That potentially might be a fight at the end of this race, but I don't think the Germans will want to risk it, and they want to get to the end in one piece and not throw it away.
Well, they don't want to risk it, but they also don't want to lose the fuel saving that they need to do for Marius Zug, who's in 4th place. So I think that will just stay as it is.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, they are being threatened by Glenn Key, part of the Team Norway 5 car. So, but that's lap traffic, so it's not going to be a massive factor. So he's just kind of just going to stay tucked up behind them here. Looking at the Team Poland, that's the number 22 car. That's Team Poland number 6, tailed by Team Germany 4. Again, a close run thing between these two. On the way down in towards La Source, of course, lap traffic behind them in the other Poland machine as well. But now we're just trying to tick down the laps as we get closer and closer to that checkered flag. Who needs to come down on towards pit lane for splash and dash? Who does not? Well, that question will be answered in a couple of minutes' time.
It will, and that Germany car is a lot better off fuel-wise than the Team Poland car, and I think that Team Poland car allowed their teammate to unlap themselves there to give themselves a little bit of slipstream there, because they'd lost the Team Ireland car. The Team Ireland car is walking away now from them. So I do believe that 22 car, number 22, in 12th place is having to do some extreme fuel saving and enlisted the support of their fellow countrymen.
Yeah, I mean, it is a team event, so therefore you can work together in this instance, as Respicki as I'll butcher that name every single day of the week. I do apologise. You know, sitting up behind his teammate here, good to use the resources that you have available to you in races like this to be able to make sure that you're able to get the best result possible here in this. And of course, it also helps out the car behind them, the German car as well, so they can sit up behind. Even though they're better on the fuel compared to Team Poland, they can feel a little bit safer in their particular situation as well. We are coming up. I'm just going to check with the leader. We are coming up towards lap to go. Perhaps we'll just have to confirm that one. We've got they've been doing lap times in the 201s, 202s, and we are 230 coming up through the second Stavlo here. So this will be once he comes across the line, you would have thought the start of the final lap. Gonna be close though.
Count that, yeah.
Some drivers are hoping this doesn't go an extra one.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, he's actually backing out of it a little bit as well, because here comes an Iceland car trying to work the play past. I think they want deliberately, because of their teammates being close on fuel, I think they deliberately just slowed down a little bit then. This should, and I say should, be the last lap.
It should be, but we never know. It's because iRacing does give you a bit of a margin coming across the line there to whether or not they want to show the white flag or to show the or to not show it, and or rather to the checkered flag. But yeah, we'll have to see, and we'll have to keep an eye on the progress of Mr. Kei Kashube at the very front of this one. So it's going to be very, very close. I mean, he'll be able to. He has the margin to back off even more on this lap to make sure he gets in as the trying to confirm that this is the final lap. But what's the situation for everyone further back, though? There's been a swap for Team Germany. There's the points. Poland still ahead of Norway. That's still a very close affair, though, but it might still all change depending on the fuel situation.
Yeah, this is where we really do have to wait until the very last car has crossed the line before we can declare any results here, and even then the officials will be quickly calculating those points, making sure that they're all correct for us. But yeah, 41 seconds coming into campus, or the Fania chicane. That is, yeah, that's quite. It's still going to be quite close. I don't want to definitely call it yet, as actually Team Norway 4 have to come onto pit road for a splash and dash.
So that's your first victim of a splash and dash. Team Norway 4 have to come down in to get to the end of the race. There's Emil Heyerdahl having to take that trip down the very long pit lane. But Team Germany, they're coming through Blanchimont right now, and there's 8 seconds left, remaining 6 seconds. And it looks like time will expire. There's the confirmation. This is the end of the final lap. What a performance for Team Germany. Absolute dominance here in the Race of Nations in the European Digital Motorsport Cup. Kei Kashube for Germany 1 heads his way across the line to take the race win. And of course his teammates in the other cars will be celebrating as well, as Zug came across the line P3, Laubisch in P5 for Germany as well. What's the situation further back, though? I think Norway 4 might have been the only victim of the splash and dash here. We'll have to see if there are any drivers or any other teams coughing and spluttering across the line. I think everyone, though, has been able to at least try and get their way through here, as we'll get to see the replay of the Germans heading their way across the line here as the Team Germany 5 holding on to position. There was a car stationary on the way down to Blanchimont. Those Team Iceland 3 running out of fuel at the very end of this race. Here comes the Irishman then, as they were put quite far down the order in the early part of the race due to the amount of incidents that happened on lap 1, but they come across the line and, well, they'll be hoping that they're able to take P4 away from Team Denmark. They had a comfortable points buffer, but there is Team Iceland, Gunnar Johansson even coming down.
I don't want to break the bad news to him, but it's uphill, that last bit.
Yeah, it is uphill, so he's going to run out of steam here. Cars still out there trying to complete their laps, by the way, so we might even see yet more victims in terms of the fuel. But the Team Iceland car, Team Iceland 3, coming to a stop, just a couple of corners away.
They're okay in terms of the standings, and in fact they should take the final points-paying position in 30th place, because there's nobody behind them yet to finish. The Team Denmark 3 car had issues once again, and they dropped down to 31st. We have got Team Norway 4, who are actually still making their way around because they made that splash and dash.
Yep, they did, so they'll be the last car to come across the line. There's 13 of Team Germany. There's Norway 4 coming up to the final couple of corners. They are the last car to do so in P12 here today after taking that splash and dash, and I think a lot of Team Norway will be very thankful to Team Germany 1 at this point, because if that lap did have to go one extra and Keiko Shube didn't slow down on those last 2 laps, then potentially a lot of Norwegian cars would have had to come down on towards pit lane and then potentially surrender the position to Team Poland. But we'll get confirmation of the points order in just a couple of moments' time. But for now, we'll get the race result order. So Keiko Shube wins by just under 4 seconds over Lemonek there. So Team Germany 1 win and Team Poland 3 on the podium. Second step of the podium for them. Markus Zug makes it a double podium for Team Germany, P1, P3. Then Team Poland 1 in P4, Germany 5 in 5th, Norway 2 in 6th, Norway 1 7th, Germany 2 in 8th, we got Norway 3 in 9th, and Ireland 2 breaking into the top 10. That's fantastic there on the recovery drive there for one of the Team Ireland cars. As, again, like I said, they had bad luck at the very start of the event. Tim Heinemann for Team Germany 4 finishes P11. Then we've got the rest of the order coming down through the top 20. You've got Hayadal, the last car on the leading lap there. Everyone else 1 lap down or more. We had actually very few retirements here. Helps due to the fact that we had fast repairs, and of course drivers want to keep themselves in it just for the spirit of the racing. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. Some great racing in this race, and some strategy intrigue as well. That's all you could really ask for.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a tremendous race. I think it's certainly could be classed as a success. But yeah, only a couple of retirements from that race in the end. So there you go. So I mean, how unlucky were Iceland at the start of the race, getting caught up in that incident at the top of Radion. So yeah, how unfortunate for them to have so many cars miss out on getting points there in this event. But still, really enjoyable event.
Yeah, incredibly enjoyable. Of course, the race administrators are continuing to try and get confirmation of the points order, but one thing we can say for sure, though, is that Team Germany are your champions. That is basically confirmed at this point. Well, it was confirmed for basically this entire second half of the race, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, Team Germany are the winners of the Race of Nations here in the Digital European Motorsports Cup. It's just the question surrounding P2 in particular, whether or not Poland were able to keep themselves ahead of Norway. I think they were. But we have to get confirmation of that in just a couple of moments. But what an event! I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was good. It's just long enough where strategy can really make things count and to make things work. So definitely intriguing event, and hopefully we can get more countries involved if there is another one of these events.
Yeah, we can. There's a couple of countries that particularly spring to mind that have some very strong drivers. Of course, potential Team Spain would be pretty strong. We've got Italy as well that could really show up to things if they get their good drivers out there. But yeah, it'd be absolutely fantastic to see. I hope this isn't the last one of these, because that was a great event to watch there. We're also waiting for some drivers to come in and give us an interview here at the very end of this race as well, to try and summarize their thoughts of what has been a great 2-hour event here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in those LMP2 machines. And well, it's you know, a lot of this is, well, there we go. We've got the points up on screen for you now. So there's the confirmed final points. Germany win on 570. Poland take P2 with 444 points. Norway slide back into third on 399. Ireland up into P4 after their recovery drive. Get 306 points in the end there, which is fantastic stuff for them. Team Denmark so strong at the very start of the race, but the drivers had problems throughout, and some bad strategy calls as well, make them fall back into P5. Iceland, though, I mean, it was going to be a struggle for them since the very start, given they occupied the final couple of the rows of the grid, but it certainly wasn't helped by that lap 1 incident into Eau Rouge and Radion, which they got collected in. So unfortunate there for Team Iceland, but like I said, I hope this isn't the last one of these that we'll get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a tremendous race. Okay, Germany dominated it a bit, but you know, you've got to be up there and be in it to win it, and they did exactly everything that they should have, and got themselves good positions in qualifying. And yeah, definitely great result for Germany to get the overall win here.
Well, we've got there's a couple of representatives from the German team here. I'll just drag them all in, why not? Let's bring everyone in. Sorry for interrupting your conversations, guys, but I'll bring all the representatives from Team Germany up into the commentary booth here as well. For Germany 1, of course, you guys took the race win here today, and of course, on points, you guys are the champions in terms of the team battles as well. Kay, I'll start with you because you brought that car home. Of course, you were given a car that was in a very, very good position. You were given, you know, part of a team that was also doing very well in the race. Was it just a case of getting that car back to the checkered flag, considering that you had no fuel worries either?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you said that the car was in perfect shape, and Lorian what he always does, drives us the front and does everything right. So we had a fuel advantage on everyone basically. Okay, we knew we had to take or keep the old tires. It was pretty difficult to drive, but apart from that, yeah, I had the best job out there in the last stint, of course.
Yeah, of course, there was a little bit of a concern that because it was very close at the very end there, whether or not we'll get an extra lap or not. Was it deliberate that you were slowing down on the last 2 laps there just to make sure that the race ended a little bit early?
Yeah, that may have been deliberate. I mean, it was obvious that everyone but us would have needed to stop again, and also our other teams, and every car, every position counts in this race. And yeah, it was the obvious thing to do.
Yeah, you were being very nice to a couple of those cars behind that were worried about having to come down in for a splash and dash. But of course, your teammate over the course of that event was Lauren Henreich. Lauren, fantastic event for you. Of course, you started behind the wheel of that Team Germany #1 car. Of course, it was a little bit more interesting in terms of the on-track battles for you early on, battling with Team Poland. You've also had Denmark in with a shout at that time as well. How was it at the very front at the start of the event?
To be honest, maybe it looked quite exciting, but it was quite calm because everyone knew that we just had to save fuel in the slipstream. And yeah, we changed positions, but it was no real battle, let's say, because we were all just trying to make the 20 laps in the first stint. Because with that quick pace, we needed 20, and 19 laps in the stints, and that was quite crucial to make the 20 laps in the first stint already.
Yeah, and it was something that you were able to get to. A couple of teams also able to go 20 laps on the stint on a couple of occasions as well. Do you feel that these races are a little bit more interesting for you guys when you're actually having to think so much about the strategy rather than trying to pass cars on track?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was also quite happy that I had Kai, because he just does the maths perfectly, and his calculations were on point. So that was really important. He always told me how much fuel I need to consume, and yeah, it worked out pretty well. It was also quite exciting with that car. I think no one really had a lot of experience in it, and it was a fixed setup. Also, the conditions didn't change a lot. Yeah, so it was really interesting with the strategy, also with the tires, as we said. It wasn't planned to not change tires in the last stint, but yeah, it played out pretty well with the track state, and Kai made a really good job on bringing the car home.
Yeah, both of you did a fantastic job here today, especially considering that, you know, at least like you said early on, it looked close even though you guys were trying to play the fuel-saving games, but, you know, there are a couple of cars out there that could have potentially challenged you here today, but you stood head and shoulders above the rest. We've also got a couple of representatives from the one of the other Team Germany cars as well, Team Germany 3 that finished in 3rd place here today, and we are joined by one of those drivers that has been able to go to a new team for 2021, Moritz Lohner. Moritz, how was it? You know, coming back to iRacing for a little bit and taking part in this race, and of course, you're pretty optimistic, obviously, for your 2021 and the future as well.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, yeah, it was quite a struggle for me in the beginning of the practice sessions to get used to the sim again and to the car. I was a little bit used to the car because of the Daytona 24 hours. So I was already like expecting how to handle the car on the track, but in the end it was still a big struggle in the beginning to find pace in iRacing. But I think in the end it worked out quite well. I was a little bit lucky in the beginning at the start to not get collected in the crash in Eau Rouge. And yeah, from then on I saved a lot of fuel, but also made my way up through the field. Until I was P2 behind Lauren. But I kinda had to save a little bit more fuel because when I gave the car to Marius, he had to save tons of fuel. So he had to fall back behind Poland and our Germany 5 team. Because I had to save like one more lap of fuel and then we would have been fine. But like this, we had to really save a lot in the end. But I think Marius can tell you more about that, how it was. But yeah, with a P3 in the end, it was quite good and maybe a little bit unexpected from my side.
Yeah, and of course, you know, Marius being a teammate, Marius Zug, like Moritz said, you had to save a whole bunch of fuel in that in the stint that you were tasked with. How difficult is it to save fuel in these cars? Because we did notice on the broadcast a lot of lifting and coasting coming down into the heavy braking zones. We even saw a couple of teams putting in the clutch as well to be able to save fuel and stop the engine braking coming down into the corners. You know, how difficult is that to try and keep the fuel saving going, but also continue to go fast enough that you're not losing too much time by doing so?
I mean, definitely a draft partner helps. So that's what I was looking out for in the beginning, and luckily Niklas collected me then in the Team German 5 car, and from then on it was basically just following him and then releasing the throttle even earlier, so I could save a bit more than he did because he did one lap longer the stint before. But once you collect the draft partner, I think the fuel saving definitely gets a lot easier.
Yeah, it really does. We saw, you know, lots and lots of teams out there today just trying to sit up behind another car and just make sure that they're able to get the fuel saving done. Later on in that race, we actually saw a situation with the trainer cars, I think behind you guys, where they were not wanting to be at the very front of the train, so they're all dropping back off of each other and losing multiple seconds a lap. But, you know, that's sometimes a desperation that sets in when the fuel numbers get marginal at the very end of the race. But, you know, fantastic job for you guys in the event here today. You know, over 100 points ahead of Team Poland, really taking things in a dominant fashion. Congratulations, guys! You are the first champions of the Race of Nations in the European Digital Motorsport Cup.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
There we go. That was Team Germany there coming out on top here today, and of course, you know, a star-studded roster, Paul.
It certainly is. It's without a doubt some of the best sim racers in the world, and they showed it right here as to why they were so dominant today. It was just sensational stuff from them to be able to get such results. So yeah, they have got such talent, such depth in the talent roster there as well in Germany, and yeah, they are a formidable opponent when it comes to sim racing.
They are. They've always been one of the top nations in terms of sim racing. You know, so many strong drivers, not just in iRacing, but on other different platforms and different leagues and different events, they've always been very strong, and they come out on top once again here in the Race of Nations European Digital Motorsports Cup. What more is there to say? We also had the second place battle between Team Poland and Team Norway as well, which is really intriguing to see. That could have easily gone either way at the end of the race, considering the fuel numbers that each team had to reach. You're seeing some couple of replays of the very start of the race here, but a great result from Team Poland, and I don't think many people would have expected that coming into this one.
I think a few people were maybe surprised by what happened, as we've seen the scenes, as you said, from the opening of the race. Not the greatest of starts, but yeah, Team Poland doing a fantastic job for them there to compete and get up there, and yeah, there's another look at what happened at the start there for you. But yeah, that battle, that intriguing battle that we had all the way through then for the rest of the race of could Poland hang on to that second place or not? It was quite close out there, and even seeing Team Ireland as well moving up the order over Team Denmark that towards the middle part and then the end of the race was intriguing to see how things hadn't just settled down in that first portion of the race. We truly did have to wait until the end of this one.
Yeah, Ireland trying to get through. Here's the shots of a couple of their cars on their recovery drive through. Of course, helped a lot by the troubles that the Danish cars had, because Denmark was, again, very strong at the start of the race, but everything just kind of fell by the wayside for them, and Ireland were able to climb up through the order and take all those positions, and you know, it just goes to show, no matter how bad the very start of your race goes, there's still opportunities later on in a race like this, especially given, you know, it's 2 hours long, and even longer endurance races as well, there's still yet more opportunities for you to try and get your way back through the field. So it's a lesson not to ever give up here when the start of the race doesn't go your way.
Yeah, absolutely. Never give up, never surrender in motorsport, and that's generally a theme that you should really take in any sport of endeavour in life, not just in motorsport. But yeah, it rings true that you never give up in this sim racing world, and it bore some fruit for Team Ireland.
Yep, it really did. But that's all that we're going to have time for here in the Race of Nations European Digital Motorsports Cup. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us over the course of this broadcast. We certainly couldn't do it without you guys, and of course, you know, fantastic racing out there, fantastic strategy games being played by all of the teams here today. I've been Connery Maddock. I've been joined by Mr. Paul Smith on the commentary for this event. Thank you very much to Hugo Luis for working behind the scenes as the director, not just of our English feed, but of the world feed as well. Thank you very much to all of our language partners that are also commentating on this race, and again, other thanks to all the sponsors and of course the administration staff here at Esports Racing that were able to put this event together. I don't think this is going to be the last one, so until then, we'll see you, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day.